And so now I wait a little while so I don't have to bother changing the icon. Should be about time to go now. It's been close to a week since I played this actually. Might have even been a week. But I finished an hour just before, and if luck would have it, I'll finish another hour tonight. Maybe it'll be easier because I only have 4 people to choose from. Cheers, Effie. Let's start with Minorikawa, who recently got involved with paying off Toyama's debt, and then we realized Toyama's still alive, and he has no idea who Takano is. Tanaka. Takano is someone completely different. The TV news continued to report on how Mamoru Tanaka had been killed in the minivan explosion. What does this mean? Chiaki blinked in confusion. I mean, Hannah told us herself that the van explosion was her father committing suicide, didn't she? The explanation I can think of, Minorikawa replied, is that Hannah was lying. He scratched his head as he considered the situation. But why? Chiaki said. Uzu let out a snort. Well, it would seem Mr. Toyama had her lie in order to deceive us. What an upstanding individual using his own daughter to buy himself some time. Minorikawa wanted to yell at the guy, but he managed to hold his tongue. The important thing was that Toyama was still alive. And if he was still alive, then there was still a way to save Heaven Publishing. They'd get the current issue out of in time, with the big scoop waiting in the wings for the issue after that. From there on out, it should be smooth sailing. Well, no matter, Ozu said. Seeing as Mr. Toyama isn't dead after all, we'll just have to wait here for him. He sat back down on the sofa. But Sagawa leaned threatening towards Chiaki. Hey, he snarled. You sure don't know where the guy's hiding out? I don't, Chiaki shot back. And even if I did, I'd never tell you. Say what now? He leaned in closer, just as she stood on her tiptoes in defiance, and their foreheads collided with a dull thud. Both reeled back, clutching their heads in their hands. Just calm down, Chiaki, Norikawa said as he began rooting through Toyama's desk. For now, I'm going to look for clues to where Toyama might be gone. You just focus on working your article. Yeah? Ozu raised an eyebrow. Getting all cooperative all of a sudden, I see. I want to schedule the plan for the next month's interview, and I can't do it without the editor-in-chief's approval. What Minorikawa was actually looking for, however, was a back issue of 4-Star General Gossip. He was pretty sure the article on Osawa had been printed in the magazine in its inaugural issue. If he could find that scandalous piece that the scientists had asked for, he'd also be able to get his big lead about the power balance of the world being at stake. And if you get that, not only would next month's issue be a sure thing, it was a good bet that sales figures would go through the roof. Hey Oya. He found a file folder full of early material and finally flipped through it. It didn't take him long to find the article. Flandering Okoshi Pharmaceutical arranges marriage of political convenience. The large headline practically jumped off at the page. Minorikawa quickly read over the story. The basic gist of it was this. The corporate director of Okoshi Pharmaceutical had sacrificed his daughter in order to keep a researcher named Kenji Osawa on board. The daughter, however, had previously been dating another man. I think they're talking about Osawa's wife, and her dad. Yeah, they are. That must be what Osawa wanted them to look into. The guy his wife had been dating before they were married. The guy his wife, Osawa's wife, had been dating. It should be easy enough to ask whoever had written the article. Minorikawa's gaze jumped to the end of the piece, looking for the writing credit. Minoru Minorikawa. The piece had been written by Toyama himself. Hey, ain't you done yet? Sagawa yelled. Tell us where Toyama is already. Yeah, Minorikawa thought. We're gonna need to do something about these guys. I'm still looking into what he said. Just hold on. It's a good thing they can't read Japanese. He made a show of opening and closing the various desk drawers. The drawers themselves were packed with a jumbled mess of electrical and gas bills. I don't know who that Makoto is, but there are a lot of Makotos in a lot of things. Noodle House delivery menus and the like. Look faster! Cigar growled. That almost seems like it's so stupid it has to be right. Isn't Makoto Makineri? That's from Persona 5, I'm pretty sure. Oh, that's what you're talking about. For now, Minorikawa decided he better butter this guy up. Say, you look like a pretty tough guy. You want to look out? Sagawa grinned, thrusting his fist out in an emphatic air punch. I used to be a boxer. Back in his boxing days, Sagawa was so tough people called him the dogfighter of Shibuya. One day, however, as he was walking along, he happened to step onto a strange panel that made him fall into a state of confusion and go on a rampage. He was quickly arrested and his boxing license was revoked. Arrow pointing to the mysterious panel Sagawa stepped on. They say there are also panels shaped like feet and even panels shaped like rice balls. Is that a reference to a game show or something? I could drop a guy like you in one punch. Oh, because there aren't many folks who can give you a good fight then. That one girl though. Sagawa dropped into a fighting pose and threw a few quick jabs. Well, matter of fact, I'm unbeatable in a street fight. They call me the Crazy Tiger of Shibuya. Shibuya, huh? You familiar with SOS then? Sagawa's face twisted into a sneer. What, those guys? I mean, I've heard they're pretty tough too. Only one of them would give me a fight would probably be that Achiendo. Except as I hear it, he's left the gang. Ah, really now? Heard anything else interesting? Sounds like nowadays they're run by some dude named Susumu. The name Susumu rang a bell. Those two punks who'd been arguing after the van explosion had mentioned him. Seems like SOS is in a pretty rough state since Archie left though, Sagawa added. Minorikawa didn't miss a beat. What do you mean rough state? Back in the day, they were all goody two-shoes, never shake folks down or steal or any of that stuff. Guess they found out Archie hated that sort of thing. But now he's out, a lot of rough and tumble hot-blooded types have been signing up with him. Smart move is not get involved in SOS nowadays, really. Hard to find a scary bunch around here when there's a lot of them together. And the main hangout, that's Infernal, right? Yeah? Yeah, over in Harajuku. Known as Urahara for short, the area east of Japan Rail Harajuku Station, around where Takashita Dori meets Meiji Dori. There are many small clothing and accessory stores here set up in renovated houses. Most of these shops are on the cutting edge of youth fashion, offering quirky and unique means of personal expression. Man, you've been listening out on the streets? What gives? Harajuku, yeah? Minorikawa smiled himself. Inferno's location practically fell into his lap. Suddenly, Sagawa's eyes went wide. Aha! So that's where Toyama is. Wait, no. No way a coward like him would go to a place like that. Chiaki looked up from her head. That's the bandage she has. Her keyboard. Look, could you please shut up? Look how many words she's written. She's almost through line 2 on her Microsoft Word document. No, you shut up. Right. That's my phone. Norikawa pulled his cell out of his pocket. Jenny to call my number 0906-543. It was Toyama's name on the incoming call. Minorikawa's heart skipped a beat. Toyama, where are you? He blurted out as he picked up. Chiaki, Ozu, and Sagawa turned to look at him as one. Well, what were you thinking, faking your death like that? Even if we could fill those pages and postpone repayment, all it would do is delay the inevitable. I'll still be up to my ears in debt. So I thought if I made it look like I was dead. Minorikawa let out an exasperated sigh. Well, everyone knows you're still alive, so your little subterfuge didn't even wind up buying you time. What? Toyama's hysterical squeak was painful to hear. Alright, listen up, Minorikawa said. If the debt you're worried about, you'll be able to pay that back real soon. What do you mean? I've landed a huge scoop. You could do a print run of 1 million copies and still sell out, and we could run it as an article. Tsuyama's perked right up. What? You really mean it? I'll give you all the details. Just get your boat back here. But aren't those loan sharks there at the office right now? Finally, I'll come see you. Tell me where you are. The two thugs crowded nearer, a predatory gleam in their eyes. And Minorikawa had a flash of inspiration. Got it! He said quickly before Toyama could respond. Miyashita. Is that Miyashita Park? I'm on my way there. Don't go anywhere. Uzu and Sagawa grinned at one another and then bolted out the door. Debated! Minorikawa said as their footsteps receded. Those guys took the bait. I sent them to Miyashita Park. He allowed himself to a cocksure grin. Right then. So, where are you really, Toyama? You imbecile! I am at Miyashita Park! What? Minorikawa fought the urge to pull his hair out. What the hell are you doing someplace like that? Why the hell did you tell them Miyashita Park? I thought it'd be a clever ruse. Well, I wasn't. This is no time to be fighting, Shiaki butted in. Yeah, you're right, Minorikawa scowled. Anyway, Toyama, those guys are heading your way. We need to get you there, get someplace where we can talk. I can meet you there. Right, okay. They needed someplace safe and public where they could speak freely. This is like when you tell Papyrus that you're not wearing a tutu, and he realizes that you're lying and you actually aren't wearing one, and something. Someplace where the staff wouldn't be overly nosy. But where, Minorikawa thought. Gotta go for the cafe. The familiar cafe by the station was a natural choice. He quickly described the location. Okay, Tsuyama said. Cafe La Traque. Got it. I'll see you there. He hung up and Minorikawa quickly gathered his belongings. Chucky, how's that copy coming along? Well, almost done. Just a little more, I think. Alright, bring your computer and come with me. I'll read over what you got so far. Minorikawa waited as Chiaki got ready to head to the cafe. As the two were heading out to the office, however, someone else opened the door. You've got 14 minutes and 57 seconds left to send to press. The writer submits to the editor submits to the designer. This is the next step of the whole handoff process. Naturally, being late for this causes a lot of trouble. 56, 55... That looks like Kano. I don't know. A slender man with a gaudy necktie entered the room and sat down at the nearest desk, staring fixedly at his pocket watch. Minorikawa narrowed his eyes dubiously. Who the hell are you? Always make sure to show up 15 minutes ahead of the appointed time. That's just common decency. The man gave no indication he even heard Minorikawa's question. Hey Alex. How late did you go with those chic lobbies last night? I suppose I can wait here, he continued. Just for another 14 minutes and 20 seconds. Wait, just for another 14 minutes and 20 seconds. Mr. Mino, is this guy talking about our submission? Chiaki stared doubtfully at the newcomer. Hey, Minorikawa asks, are you from the printer? But the man did not reply. Don't ignore me. Are you from the printer? Still, the man remained silent. Minorikawa was furious. Look, cut the crap, he roared. In response, the man quietly reached into his suit pocket and pulled out his business card. My name is not Heiyu. He handed the card back to Minorikawa. It read, Shon Nippon Printing Company Limited, Sales Department, Division 1, Koichiro Katayama. How far away are you from leveling up? I'm Koichiro Katayama, newly assigned to Heaven Publishing. A pleasure to meet you. My predecessor is in the hospital due to a car accident. Sachio Usui. Usui? 39 years old, single, a long-time veteran at Showa Nippon Printing. Rather timid by nature, the strain of dealing with publishers makes him sick to his stomach. At around 1:10 p.m. earlier today, while driving to meet one of his clients, he had to swerve to avoid a young man and woman who darted into the streets. He crashed into the car next to him and into the hospital. I wonder who did that? I don't recognize that kanji. It looks kind of like the one for water, but not quite. He should make a full complete recovery in about 2 months. What are you doing here, Katayama? Minorikawa asked. I thought we had until 8 o'clock to complete proofreading. Oh, light. Actually, I should have... I don't know. I used to know the kanji for light. It's been a while since I've seen it. 8 o'clock. Surely you must be joking. Wait. 8 o'clock. Surely you must be joking. Our company's proofing deadline is 5:30. Katayama stared fixedly back at Minorikawa. Now that had to be... Now that had to be a joke. I heard from the editor-in-chief that it's 8 o'clock. I take that to mean, then, that you don't have any copy for us. It's not we don't have it, Minorikawa said. It's just not finished yet. Just hold until 8. Katayama raised an eyebrow. No. Publisher and printer need to work in concert. Perhaps my predecessor was the sort to delay the proofing deadline owing to your circumstances here. But now I'm in charge and I do not make exceptions. The proofing deadline is 5:30 sharp and I intend to keep it that way. And while we've been having this discussion, you're down to 12 minutes and 32 seconds. Katayama held at his pocket watch as if to emphasize the point. That's ridiculous, Minorikawa exclaimed. Just who the hell do you think you are? You guys are going to be printing a paper that I wrote. Do you even know how lucky that makes you? So just wait, okay? Just give me... 3 more days. Just give us 3 more days. Try to find it in your heart to wait 3 more days. That's not happening. Katayama didn't see how much his bat an eyelash. You have 10 minutes and 46 seconds left. You son of a bitch! Don't get all high and mighty just because you work for the printer. High and mighty? I say it's the people on the publishing side of things that act high and mighty. Whatever high-minded claims you may make without us, you have nothing to put on the store shelves. Forgetting that and blithely ignoring your proofing deadline makes for more work on our end. Just what are you getting at, I wonder? Now it's 10 minutes and 20 seconds. Norikawa ground his teeth so hard he could hear it. His usual tactics were useless here. Katayama was simply too unflappable to be browbeaten. If he backed down now, though, it was game over. 10 minutes and 7 seconds remaining. I realize there's very little point, but I'll wait until the designated time. That's just common decency. Katayama's pet phrase. Thus far, he has said that's just common decency 3 times in this story. Always make sure to show up 15 minutes ahead of the appointed time. I realize there's little point, but I'll wait until the designated time. There was one more. Do you know when and where it was? Nope, I actually didn't realize he said it 3 times. Or even once. Katayama's eyes were once again locked on his pocket watch. It was no use. Minorikawa couldn't find a way to talk this guy out. Wait. Chiaki held her hand up. What is that ring? May I say something? Isn't it also common decency not to break a promise once it's been made? If you're referring to the 8 o'clock deadline, I was not the one who promised that. Maybe not, but I believe your predecessor's responsibilities became your responsibilities. Katayama crossed his arms and gave her a bemused look. What's your name, miss? Chiaki, she said bashfully. Chiaki Iso. Isolation is everywhere. The printer's expression brightened visibly. Good. That timid hesitation of yours is just splendid. You have none of the arrogance of though typical among publishers. Chiaki was taken rather aback. In deference to your polite demeanour, I shall wait until 7 o'clock. That is the latest I can possibly allow. Alright, Noriko shouted practically in Katayama's face. We agreed to those terms. No, I wasn't talking to you. But we got the terms of our own. Katayama reeled ever so slightly. I'm not certain you're in any position to set terms here. Just shut up and listen. From here on out, you're coming with us. What? Why? We're going to finish off a copy on site and then burn the data onto the CD and hand it over to you there. That's why. Katayama let out a sigh of resignation. Oh, very well. I suppose I'd simply be waiting here anyway. Noriko pumped its fist in victory. Alright, Shiaki, go ahead and copy the DTP data we got so far into your computer. Sure thing, Mr. Minnow. Shiaki quickly set about copying the data from the editing department's desktop. Okay, done. Then let's go. With the others in tow, Minoru Kawa headed for the cafe where Toyama would be waiting. Don't worry, I'm definitely the worst at kanji here. I knew that Hitomi was I in Japanese actually, because I, the Somnium Files, has a character called Hitomi, and that's the pun. Hitomi can also be read in kanji as 1, 2, 3. They reached Cafe Lautrec without incident, and Minorikawa promptly spotted the publisher. Over here, Toyama hissed, eyeing his surroundings with obvious unease. Hana sat by his side, sullenly slipping on some juice. The waitress came over as Minorikawa joined them. May I take your order? She asked. Water! Just water, sir. No, just water, sir. Fine, make it a double. Exasperated, the waitress headed back to the kitchen. Toyama looked over at Katayama. Who's this guy? I'm Koichiro Katayama from Shop Nippon Printing. Katayama presented his business card. Toyama turned to Minorikawa with a quizzical look. What's someone from the printer doing with you? I'll explain later. There's no time for that right now, Minorikawa replied. First, I need you to answer some questions. Does the name Kenji Osawa ring any bells? Osawa? Toyama closed his eyes and thought. He heads up a laboratory because you ran a piece on him in the first ever issue of What's That General Gossip. To be fair, like, she has had to put up with so much Minorikawa shit. Toyama's face lit up with recognition. Oh yes, that political marriage piece. Yeah, that one. Do you remember the details from that article? Of course. Who do you think I am? Toyama puffed himself up proudly. I used to be local news copy editor at Central Times. I got the details from all the stuff I ever covered in here in my head. In that case, do you know who Kenji Osawa's wife was dating before they got married? Toyama blinked his eyes vacantly. Hey, what's the matter? Minorikawa asked. I didn't even notice. This is a pretty tough pop quiz you're giving me. Surprise, kids! It's time for a science quiz. What colorless, odorless gas, lighter than air, and used for consumer and municipal gas appliances is also known as marsh gas or swamp gas? Helium, ethylene, propane, or methane? Tune in next time for the answer. I'm gonna say propane. I don't know. Killer crap, man. You just said you have all the details in your head. Oh, they're in there, alright. They're just not coming out. Norikawa slumped. Mr. Toyama, please. Whether or not you will ever pay off your debt depends on your memory here. Hearing this, Hana cast a cold glare up at her father. Alright, I can remember. Or I can at least try. Toyama folded his arms and hummed himself. His gaze turned inward. So I feel like it was a really common name. Sato? Chiaki chirped. Yamada? Was it either of those? They're pretty common names. But Toyama shook his head. Norikawa offered a guess of his own. I feel like I've been suspicious of Ai/Osawa's wife and Endo/Archie's dad, but let's try something completely off. Suzuki! No, that's not it. Cheers, Hunter! Cheers, Hunter? Maybe that was it. Just then the television inside the cafe switched over to a news report on the Shibuya explosion. The remains of the individual discovered within the minivan itself, who has since been identified as pharmaceutical company executive Mamoru Tanaka. Mamoru Tanaka? Toyama turned around and looked at the TV. An image of the victim's face appeared on the screen. Whoa! Toyama blurted, nearly falling out of his seat upon seeing the photo. That's it! It was him! Mamoru Tanaka! That's nothing at all like what I just said. Wait, Toyama pointed excitedly at the TV. That's who Kenji Osawa's wife was dating before they got married. Mamoru Tanaka! Norikawa felt himself getting goosebumps every time he needs the Heimlich. The victim of the terrorist bombing in Shibuya was also linked to the researcher who was key in the terrorist viral scare. His reporter's hunch was now a certainty. Right now, Shibuya was at the center of some massive conspiracy. This went far beyond even a major scoop. Mr. Toyama, we need to make sure that next month's issue hits shelves. Norikawa called up Kenji Osawa to let him know the results of his little investigation. Getting close to the end of Norikawa's already. The man didn't seem terribly surprised. Probably he'd had his suspicions all along. Osawa told him that there was something he needed to do before he was ready to give details on the big scoop, but he was called back later. In the meantime, Norikawa knew he'd have his hands full getting the current issue of Gossip wrapped up for the 7 o'clock deadline. He slapped his hands down on the table. Alright, emergency meeting right here, he announced. It looks even more ridiculous from this angle. We need to get a lead on the Shibuya terrorist bombing in the next issue. The article about twins winning the beauty contest has been dropped for that. We'll use the info from Kenji Osawa as the basis for our big scoop in the issue after that. Mr. Toyama, any problems with that? No, that should be fine. But what about the remaining pages for next month's issue? I mean, they look like they kind of look like line stickers, sort of, with backgrounds. Wait, is that kanji also in Satoko? Norikawa opened the file on his computer. The layout built in the DTP came up on the monitor. The report on Bernie Hammer sales demo. The surveillance camera opinion piece. The interview with Orai. Those three were finished, the copy already incorporated into the layout. Once Chiaki's street interview piece was loaded in, that one could be checked off as well. Chiaki, how'd you come along? I'm sorry, I just need a little bit longer. The writing seemed to be giving her a fair bit of trouble. The article on SOS was still just a placeholder in the layout. I'm actually kind of surprised they're different. There's also like so much like kanji talk in the new Higurashi about a certain character's surname that does not translate well into English, so enjoy that. Wait. Oh, I think a bit of it's in the anime as well, so maybe you'll recognize it. And Norikawa hadn't even gotten the material for that, putting it even further behind than Chiaki's street interviews. Still, he'd at least learned where Shibuya's legendary street gang made their hangout. He'd just have to take the risk of dropping in on them unannounced to ambush them with some interview questions. And then there was the lead-in for the Shibuya bombing. That wasn't even in the layout yet. It was a completely blank slate. Against all odds, they were going to need to put that article together from nothing with just an hour and change. The important thing is I always know how to write Rena's name correctly because it does not have kanji. It was an impossible amount of work for just himself and Chiaki to do. To be fair, Effie, that's true in English as well. Whoa, and how are things coming along? I mean, well, and how are things coming along? Katayama rose and he came closer, trying to peer at the monitor. Minorikawa hurried to cover up the screen. Look! If the printer rep saw all the blank pages, he might decide to stop waiting. Would you mind telling me roughly what % of the total you have completed thus far? What percent? Comfort, man. We're at 100%. If you're 100% done, that implies that you're all finished. Could I please have the data then? No, I'm saying that willpower is 100%. I'm not even going to pretend I understand what you mean by that. Shaking his head, Katayama sat back down in his chair. Minorikawa, Tsuyama asked, his expression uneasy. So I know I asked this before, but why is someone from the printer here again? Katayama promptly chimed in. The long and short of it is that your proofing deadline has been changed to 7 o'clock, he said. What? That's impossible. Who's doing the lead-in for Shibuya bombing? Tsuyama eyed Minorikawa and then Chiaki. Both stared back non-committally. Then it really is impossible. We'll never meet the deadline. We don't have enough people. No, we do have enough. Minorikawa thrust out his finger. Mr. Tsuyama, you're going to write that one and you'll handle the layout. What? Heaven Publishing is your company. Won't you step up in order to protect it? Tsuyama hung his head. Even if I headed to the scene right now, I'm sure the other outlets have already gotten their coverage. I wouldn't be able to find anything new to write about. Wow, that was the fakest punch I've ever seen. Is he just gonna give up? A moment later, Tsuyama was on the floor, Minorikawa glaring down at him. You always said that you wanted to tell the world about the things the mass media can't or won't write about. So what the hell difference does it make if they've already gotten the soundbites thereafter? Minorikawa's voice was raw with emotion. Don't you dare give up. Not that easily. Get your ass out here. Find something that only you can write about. Minorikawa. Tsuyama began to object, then he glanced over at Hana. There was an imploring look in her eyes as well. Quick, Maria, you can finally win a game of rock, paper, scissors. I get what you're saying, Tsuyama grumbled, but still, you're expecting a lot. But then, despite his words, he flashed a broad grin. Yeah, Minorikawa let out a quiet chuckle. And it's got you all fired up. Go far away. Yeah, I'm fired up, alright. Tsuyama's face shone with resolve Minorikawa hadn't seen in a long time. There we go. That's the Tsuyama I know. You know, I'm really sorry. Now I see the huge burden I put on you. But damn it, it's going to be alright. Getting to his feet, Tsuyama took his daughter by the hand and strode boldly out of the cafe looking like a changed man. Minorikawa watched them go, glad the differing was over. Even if Tsuyama was still in his prime, he'd be cutting it close to do that article in an hour. But he would pull through somehow. When it came to taking care of Hana, the man would rise to the occasion again and again. Father and daughter disappeared into the crowd hand in hand. I'm pretty sure she still hates him. Minorikawa shook himself out of his reverie. Alright, he cried. Despite the clear blue sky, an unexpected gust of wind blew across his cheek. Come on guys, we're gonna get going too. Things might look grim, but he wasn't going to give up until the bitter end. It was time to head to the SOS hangout, Inferno. The three ran long and hard after leaving the cafe. If the proofing deadline was 7 o'clock, then they needed to finish up with SOS by 6:30 at the latest. The gang's hangout was in Uro Harajuku. Running all the way there on foot was going to eat too much of their time. But traffic was at a near standstill for some reason and there wasn't a taxi in sight. How long do you plan on running like this? Katayama called out, panting. Just take a look at the road. With this traffic, there's no point in hailing a cab. Even Minorikawa was feeling the time pressure now. We're just gonna keep running until the road's clear. What? Katayama wailed. Stop your whining. Just keep quiet and stick with me. He finally got Tayama to find his willpower again. Next month's issue would come out in time, and there's no way some printer guy was going to mess that up now. I wonder what has happened with the other characters to make that happen. But the traffic showed no signs of abating. Catching a cab wasn't going to be an option. Fighting an ever louder echo of despair, Minoru kept his desperate headlong rush. To rush into a situation recklessly or heedlessly. Not quite the same as being a daredevil. Still, there were no limits to how far the mind could push the body before exhaustion set in. Eek! Eek! Isn't this the same staircase, like, near where Chiaki was doing interviews? As they were running across a pedestrian overpass, Chiaki slipped and took a nasty fall. She skinned her knee hard enough to draw blood. Hey you! Minoru snapped at Katayama. Don't just stand there, help the poor girl already. Katayama scurried over to Chiaki. I'm sorry, Mr. Mino, but Chiaki's voice bubbled with suppressed tears. Maybe it was cruel to make her run with a computer all the way to Harajuku. The coffee for her interviews still needed to be looked over. They couldn't just leave her here. Minoru hesitated, undecided. Even at a full run, they wouldn't make it in time. And with traffic the way it was, there was nothing they could do. You now have... Katayama consulted his pocket watch. Exactly 1 hour remaining. Damn it, Minoru raged. What do we do? Relentlessly, the clock ticked on. That was surprisingly without conflict. So let's try some other options before I head over to other people. Wait a minute. Go back. Yep. Maybe we could mollify this guy by having some noodles delivered for dinner. Hey, you guys hungry? I was thinking of ordering some soba. Man, this ain't no place for time for that, Scour said. Besides, we just had some soba anyhow. And ugh, it was awful. Don't talk to me about noodles. Seagal launched into a shadowboxing session as if trying to punch out the provider of his disappointing soba. The guy clearly had zero capacity for sitting still. Norikawa had found the back issue of gossip he was looking for. He still needed Chiaki's article though. He wasn't quite finished. He had to buy some more time. But like he said, Seagal, are you familiar with SOS? SOS? The thug paused and missed his jab. Yeah, SOS was planning on interviewing them later today. Here they got some pretty tough guys. There we go. This surely will do something different. Recalling the noodle house from the menu he'd seen earlier, he opted for that. Doggin hut, huh? Tiyama rumbled at the words under his breath. Do you mean for We Were Here too? I think I probably would rather not because I have a lot of stuff I have to do tomorrow. What's the matter? Is there some problem with that? No. Alright, I'll meet you there. It's just over in Dogenzaka. The address is on the menu. He hung up and Minorikawa quickly gathered his belongings. Checky, how's the coffee coming along? Well, almost done. Just a little more, I think. Alright, bring your computer and come with me. Ah. I mean, I could probably just watch that then, yeah. I don't know if I could do reading. But it depends. Like, it depends on how I go with my schedule. Alright, bring your computer and come with me. I'll read over what you got so far. Norikawa waited as Shiaki got ready to head for the cafe. As the two were heading out of the office, however, someone else opened the door. You've got 14 minutes and 57 seconds left to send for us. Wait, are they gonna... Chiraku quickly set about copying the data from the editing department's desktop. Okay, done. Then let's go. With the others in tow, Minori Kawa headed to the noodle house where Toyama would be waiting. The soba restaurant Dogen Hut was roughly halfway up Dogenzaka. A long-standing noodle shop in Dogenzaka. 2 years ago, the owner passed away from illness. Now the restaurant is run by his widow, Maki Yoneda, and her two part-timers, Masa from Midoriyama Academy and Mohinda, an Indian exchange student. Despite this sign billing the establishment as a soba restaurant, duck meat soba and chilled curry soba are the only two actual soba offerings. The rest of the menu, for some reason, is all udon dishes. In fact, both of the kinds of soba are terrible, though maybe the chilled curry soba would be okay if someone else were making it. That's that place that Archie went to like hours ago, I think. Inside, they encountered the proprietress near the door. She held a massive cleaver for cutting soba noodles clutched in one hand. Toyama wasn't there. Excuse me, Murika said. Has a middle-aged man come by your shop? Name's Toyama. The proprietress let out a weary sigh. Shit. It's Adult Renner. That guy, huh? You folks know him? Yes, that's right. Then I'm sorry. I didn't want to have to do this. It was all his fault, though. You reap what you sow. Noriko didn't know what she was going on about, but suddenly he had a very bad feeling. So then, Toyama was here? He asked cautiously. Yes, he came by. Where is he now? Please tell me. No, I have no obligation to tell anything to friends of Toyama's. Evidently there's some bad blood between Toyama and this woman. The real victim here is me. Her voice rose abruptly to a roar. Now listen up good to this old woman's story. I don't have time for this, Minoriko thought. He needed to find Toyama as soon as possible. But instead, it looked like he'd be stuck hearing out this angry woman first. Alright, we're listening. Tell us the story. It's a long one. The woman's mouth twisted up and she licked her lips, leaning in to tell her tale. Long, long ago, when I was still in my 20s, I would often make deliveries to Heaven Publishing. They were some of my best customers. Back then, we were so busy my employees practically worked themselves to death. You see, Dogen Hut had the finest soba in Japan, and our spokesmodel was considered one of the most beautiful girls in the world. Yeah, I think so. Like, Archie goes there, like in the second or third hour, and when they're waiting for the trying to find the van. Back when this woman was in her 20s, Heaven Publishing hadn't even existed yet. But Minori figured he better not correct her. That would probably piss her off and make her stop entirely. He kept his mouth shut and listened to her silly tale. But anyway, that's all in the past now. As time went on, we had a lot of delivery customers asking me to put their bills on the tab. So much that it became a problem we changed our policy to disallow that sort of thing. But the fine folks of Heaven Publishing considered themselves an exception to that rule. And that put my part-timer Masa, who does the deliveries, in a bit of a bind. Okay. Oh, Masa's a student at Midoriyama Academy. First-year student at Midoriyama Academy. After getting indigestion from eating too much parfait at a fast food restaurant in Sendagai, he was there with his girlfriend to do a dry run for a competitive eating contest. He wound up going to the restroom 14 times in 1 hour. Unable to stand idly by, his girlfriend called for an acquaintance of ours, the gluttonous Chiriko Asugi, for advice on improving Masa's intestinal fortune. It turned out, however, that Chiriko was planning to compete in the same contest. Knowing that they were up against some monumental competition, the two continued their training, wherever the battle to come. It's a weird backstory. He took the day off to go on a date with Maya's girlfriend. I hear they're planning to compete as a couple in some ice cream eating contest that's going to air on TV. So they were going to do a practice run today. Honestly, how ridiculous is that? Honestly, I couldn't care about Masa one way or the other, Minoriko thought. This whole experience was turning into a real ordeal. So yes, we were in a real bind. I run a restaurant here, not a charity operation. I'd call and ask them to settle up, but they'd always insist, oh, we don't have any money. And that's a lie. Utsura! It's got to be a lie. What else could it be? Otherwise, how could they keep making that magazine of theirs? That Celebrity Confidential, or whatever the hell it is. Celebrity Confidential was a weekly tabloid put out by one of Heaven Publishing's competitors. Or is it Usoba? That's a terrible pun. Minorikawa was just going to have to let that egregious mix-up slide. And that's not all, the proprietress spat. Oh no, on top of that, their magazine's little gourmet Gabs corner, or whatever they call it, ran a scathing review of us. Wait. After that, customers started keeping their distance, and I aged 20 years practically overnight. Gourmet Gabs was a column that ran in Celebrity Confidential. There was nothing of the sort in 4-Star General Gossip. This woman had clearly gotten the two magazines mixed up somehow. Awful. Just awful, isn't it? All I wanted to do was make you soda for people who enjoy. And so, to be treated like this... To be treated like this... The woman had started to sob. The cleaver began to waver in her trembling hands. But then, earlier today, these two Yakuza-looking fellows came by, said they were looking for Toyama from Heaven Publishing. Guess they saw one of our menus at his office and figured he might come by. She had to be talking about Uzu and Sugawa. They'd both been nearby when Minorikawa was rooting through the desk drawers. They must have spotted the menu then. I told them he wasn't here, and I hadn't ordered delivery in some time, so they said that if I happened to see him, to give him a call. Now, I was just going to turn them away. They look like a pair of nasty loan sharks. Toyama would never be able to pay off his tab if they caught him, so I told him as much. Proprietress lowered her voice before continuing. But they said they'd be most appreciative if I could let them know. Even offered to pay him his tab for me if I did. And well, that pretty much settled it. So I let them give me their phone number. Norikawa's face went pale. This lady had been bribed by those two thugs. And so I guess she figured it out. A little earlier, Toyama dropped by, looking like he was trying to lay low, so it all came together. I snuck back out and gave those two a call, and so here we are. You guys were just a hair too late. Oh crap. Toyama had been carted off by the moneylenders. Minorikawa had to find him right away. Wait. Good night, Effie. Wait, Mrs. Amino? Sharky squeaked nervously. To be fair, it's only Detective Delicious who gets Kajiwara's voice. Sharky squeaked nervously. Or I guess as well, like, some variation on it for Kuma-chan. We have to hurry and look for him. Yeah. Norikawa and the others headed for the door. Wait. The voice sounded as if it had echoed up from the very depths of hell. Norikawa and the company stopped in their tracks. Right! You think I can just let you go? The old woman began to stalk towards them. Those guys, they left without showing their appreciation or paying off that tab. They didn't want to they didn't want to show my nation my appreciation. They lied to me. And so just who's gonna show me the appreciation I'm owed? Who's going to pay that tab? You're all in this together like a shitty Ben Lee song, trying to play me for a fool. But hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. The proprietress lifted her cleaver high. Her eyes smoldered with inhuman rage. A murderous aura surrounded her like a bonfire wind. Wait, Minorikawa cried. We're Toyama's... His friends? Then prepare yourself. You'll repay his debt to me with your lives. The three companions stood paralyzed with horror, watching their bloody doom approach. The blade glimmered in dimness as he swung it towards Minorikawa. Time for some fresh meat. Damn, this got dark. Minorikawa, Chiaki, and Katayama screamed, their cries echoing clear across Dogenzaka. Press F to pay respects to Minorikawa. It was no ordinary grudge that the proprietress of Dog and Heart had it held towards Toyama, as Minorikawa and the others had found out firsthand, falling victim to a mighty cleaver. Yeah, this isn't the right place to have them meet up with Toyama. Seriously, who the heck decided this was a good idea? Wait, is that the only bad ending on this? Because I just got an achievement. That can't be the only bad ending for an entire hour, can it? If it is, then maybe I can get this stream done relatively on time. Nothing suitable came to mind. Probably Toyama should decide. You got any suggestions, Mirikawa said? Let's see. There's a bar in Daikanyama I drop by a lot. How about there? A very fashionable yet relaxed neighborhood in Shibuya. High-end boutiques, high-end restaurants, and high-end confectionery shops, high-end cafes, high-end interior design stores, and high-end residential housing all line the streets. A settlement dating back to 2,000 years to the Yayoi period has been excavated in Daikanyama, where it cannot be said for sure whether the dwellings were high-end this time. Yeah, that'll work fine. Okay, so start by heading north from Shibuya Station. After a while, you hit a freeway intersection, turn left there, and then about 100 meters after that, take a right. Along the way, there'll be a side street that branches off at a diagonal. Go down that and take a right into the second intersection, then head right down the stairs there, and it'll look like you need to go left in this slightly curving incline, and if you step on the yellow tile, you smell like lemons, and sharks do not like lemons, and if you step on a pink tile, nothing happens. Okay, this is getting way too complicated. Forget it, I'll pick a place. Mirikawa suggested the cafe by the station, but now it was comfortably familiar. He quietly described the location. Okay, Toyama said, Cafe Lautrec, got it, I'll see you there. He hung up and Mirikawa quickly grabbed his belongings. I don't think this one matters. Or this one, really. Okay, I'll just move on. If someone's fairly far into his, I'll do his next. Wait a minute. Let me think through. Yeah, I'll do this. The rain won't let up. The sound is growing louder and louder inside my head. It is the sound of regret splattering against my heart. My emotions surging like a terrible storm within me. Signed, Frederica Berncastle. I never wished for this. Never expected my heart to be dragged so far beyond my control. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. The words stormed through Osawa's mind in a relentless cacophony. He called up images of the bodies on the human testing trials in his computer monitor. He couldn't help but imagine his daughter in the same gruesome state. In just a few more hours, Maria would begin hemorrhaging blood and die just like people in those pictures had. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. We can't save Maria. He couldn't shake the words from reality, the words or the reality from his mind. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! Osawa began pounding on his fists fiercely on the desktop. Sir, what are you doing? Kajiwara tried to intervene, but he kept on pounding away. When he finally ceased, the pain of repeat impacts lingered in his hands. My research was never about sincere desire to help people, and now I'm paying the price for that. The one time it finally matters, I can't even save my own daughter. Mr. Osawa, Kajiwara set a hand on his shoulder. You can always blame yourself later, but for now, think again, good and hard. Is there really no other way to save Maria? Nothing else we could try. Wait, I should say that again. Is there really no other way to save Maria? Nothing else we could try. Osawa shook his head. The only means we had left was using Tanaka's password to unlock the doors, and now Tanaka is dead. There's no other way? Is there a possibility that Mr. Tanaka told someone else his password? Such as your wife? This was something Hosawa hadn't considered. Was there anyone Tanaka might have shared his password with? Only one person came to mind. Well, yes. There may be someone. You're referring to Osawa's wife, sir? Kajiwara cast his eyes down. You figured that out then? Yes, back during the commotion over that listening device. A necktie clip isn't typically the sort of present one gives to a husband's co-worker, and yet although some might consider it somewhat inappropriate, Mr. Tanaka was wearing it as if it were a matter of course, which implies something about their relationship. Kajiwara's voice trailed off. He coughed apologetically and tried again. I realize it's an awkward situation, sir, but please check with your wife, Even if Osawa's wife, does happen to know the password, that does us no good if Maria gets quarantined someplace we can't reach her. I understand, Mr. Osawa. I'll bring Maria to you then. I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. Detective then produced a bunch of bananas from his pocket. These are all left over. You're more than welcome to them, sir. If only he had a microwave. I mean, he does, but actually. Despite his gentle smile, the rest of his face was firm with resolve. You said you didn't care whether other people understood you, didn't you, Mr. Osawa? Osawa nodded guardedly. At the risk of sounding presumptuous, sir. I understand you. No, I understand you. I used to be quite the workaholic myself. You're just like me. Innocent and awkward. On another occasion, Kajiwara was shocked to run into a man who looked just like him. The fellow was a stylist from a hair salon Kajiwara visits on occasion. He had a gasp of surprise of his own upon seeing the detective. Kajiwara felt a peculiar connection and was expecting to go to the salon regularly, but when the stylist asked what he did for a living, and Kajiwara answered honestly that he was a detective, the other man's face went pale and he bolted out of the building. Kajiwara never saw the man after that. Calling yourself innocent, huh? How modest of you. Osawa let out a sardonic chuckle, and after a moment, Kajiwara joined in. Ha 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 ho ho ha ha ha. The next time I see you, Mr. Osawa, I'll have Maria with me. The detective gave a slight bow, then left the study, a look of determination on his face. Osawa watched him go with admiration. No matter what trouble arose, the man always looked for something he could do. He really was a fellow who knew how to hang tough. Compared to that, I'm just... Osawa couldn't even articulate his own self-disgust. And asking Osawa's wife, about the password would also mean inquiring into her relationship with Tanaka. The prospect was daunting. Venturing into emotional territory of another person was weakest suit. He left his study, but somehow found himself making his way to Maria's room, not Osawa's wife's. He realized he hadn't been into his daughter's room since a certain rainy day years before. Now he stepped quietly inside and saw Maria's world laid out before him. A small photo was set atop her neat and tidy desk. It was a close-up of someone's hands doing the cat's cradle. Whose hands were they? From the skin tone, they didn't appear to be Maria's. Several more photographs were pinned to a corkboard that hung on the wall. There were snapshots of people and townscapes from the Middle East. One glance at them and Osawa felt like he was back there for a moment. The images weren't necessarily aesthetically pleasing, but they all looked like they'd been taken by a professional. When he spotted the last photo on the corkboard, however, he was certain that Maria had taken them all. Aww. The last picture was Osawa himself. He was facing the camera, holding some luggage and flashing an awkward smile. It was a comical, affectionate image. He'd never known that photography was one of his daughter's hobbies. No, this went beyond a mere hobby. Did she perhaps aspire to be a professional photographer one day? She certainly had the aptitude for it from the look of things. Maria, a photographer. As he mulled the idea over, Osawa felt his chest tighten. Right now, it looked like Maria's hopes and dreams were about to be snuffed out. Her future consisted of bleeding to death a few short hours from now. Osawa stared vacantly out of the window. The view from Maria's room remained unchanged from so long ago. Again that rainy day crept back into his mind, as vivid as the present. On that day, Osawa was dealing with some pressing business from work. He'd ensconced himself in his study, wrestling with some paperwork, when Hitomi barged in looking distraught. "Maria's gone." Sensing that Hitomi was legitimately alarmed, Osawa hurried to Maria's room. He found a letter that she'd left atop her writing desk. "Dad, you only care about Hitomi. You're always working with and never do anything with me, so I'm running away." A few hours earlier, he cancelled their weekend trip to the amusement park. He just wasn't going to be able to get his work done in time. Hitomi had resigned herself readily enough, but Maria just couldn't accept it. She'd been looking forward to it for so long, she railed at him. How many times had he broken one of his promises to her? "Hitomi understands why we can't go, so why can't you do the same?" The cold rebuke had ended her complaining, but it was clear she still didn't accept the situation. Now, Hitomi helped him look around, but they found nothing missing from Maria's room. Despite her assertion that she was running away then, it seemed like there was no point in being overly concerned. "Maybe she's at the park she always goes to." Hitomi looked worried. The park was roughly a 25-minute walk from the house. It would take only about an hour for Osawa to go get it and bring her home, but an hour was more than he could afford to spare right now. "Dad, I think she's waiting for you to go after her." Osawa didn't need Hitomi to tell him that. He knew it well enough. That was what galled him so much about the situation. Why did she have to pull something like this precisely when his work was his busiest? He'd done everything he could as a father since his wife had passed away. Why couldn't his daughter see that? "It's alright. Your sister will come back." The rain was coming down pretty hard outside the window. Do you think she brought an umbrella?" Hitomi asked anxiously. "I don't know, but with rain like this, she'll come back home soon enough." He spoke the words for himself for as much as for Hitomi. Then he headed back to his study and got back to work. But several hours went by and still Maria did not return. Did she just call her dad Osawa-san, or am I dumb? No, it's probably I've forgotten what it is. Otor-san? Yeah, that's it. The rain had gotten even more intense, to the point where Osawa could hear it in his study. He was so concerned about his missing girl that he couldn't focus on his work, but he stubbornly refused to give in and go search for her. Several more hours passed. At last, Maria appeared at the front door, soaking wet. Osawa met her silently in the entryway. Wet strands of hair clung to the girl's forehead, but she looked up to her father with a bitter glare. "You don't care about what happens to me, do you?" Immediately, Osawa smacked her across the cheek with the flat of his hand. It was the first time in his life he'd ever struck someone. He hadn't known such a violent impulse could exist inside him. Maria stood there, her hand pressed to her cheek. Tears welled up in her eyes. She began to tremble. On her lip was a small bead of blood. Looks like it's on her... No, that's her hair, never mind. A flood of guilt and regret rose up inside Osawa, as if he just shattered some intricate piece of glasswork. How could I do such a thing? Hey, Lobster, thank you for the bits and the betas, it looks like. He clenched his shameful hand into a fist. And in that moment, he was afraid of Maria. Afraid his daughter could bring such raw emotion out of him and make him do something so thoughtless. How could you be so thoughtless? But even more, he was afraid of how stunted he was as a human being. Was someone like him really fit to be a parent? What kind of future could Maria and Hitomi hope for with a father like him? How has your day been? Or night? Or I'm not sure which time zone you're in. That was why he'd married Ai, Osawa's wife, as Makino had proposed. Having a mother, he decided, would help keep his family together despite their sad excuse for a father. But in doing so, Osawa had dug a psychological ditch between himself and his daughters. A deep ditch so that he could keep his daughters from being hurt, so that he wouldn't hurt himself. Now, Osawa was staring across that ditch, wondering if it was too wide to leap. He thought back to his earlier exchange with Kajiwara. If you get angry, you show it. If you get sad, you show it. It's human nature to let other people know how we're feeling after all.
But what if doing that hurts the other person?
That's when you apologize, sir. Yes, that was right. He needed to apologize to Maria for what he'd done that day. It still wasn't too late. It's never too late. When it comes to family, there's no such thing as game over. He recalled Pretty Honey's words. He needed to apologize to Maria, and so he needed to ask Ai, Osawa's wife, for that password. Osawa was going to have to face his wife. I think that's where Minorikawa's jump was. I'll check. It's kind of close. Okay, but before I do that, I always mix it up a bit, and so I am going to Kano. A gunshot rang out from Tatano's gun, but it was a wild shot, fired reflexively as the weapon flew out of his hand. So now, like, this is where Maria is as well. A figure had leapt from behind the water storage tank, kicking him in the arm that held the gun. That's the woman whose name I've forgotten again, isn't it? Then, moving almost too fast for the eye to track, the newcomer delivered an elbow strike to Tatano's jaw. Kano didn't even have the chance to fire his gun. Before he could react, Maria's kidnapper was already laid on the ground. That's a capital beta, right? Am I wrong? Without so much as looking back, the girl bolted down the stairs. Maria! Kano shouted. Oh yeah, that's the s sound. Which I just the word I know it's in, of course, is Shiza. He started to chase after her, but a bright glimmer in the corner of his eyes stopped him in his tracks. The strange assailant had drawn a knife, and was preparing to slit the unconscious Tatano's throat. Kano quickly brought his gun back to bear. Stop right there! The knife stopped mere millimeters from Tatano's neck. Heiser! Kano was sure that if he hadn't intervened, the detective's throat would be slit already. The knife wielder pulled back the hood that had been concealing her face. I knew it, it's her. You. I know you, Kano said, shocked to see that he recognized the attacker. I'm not surprised. It was the girl who'd been knocked out by the minivan explosion. Why stop me? She asked, her tone ice cold. Weren't you just about to shoot him yourself? I don't have a reason to shoot him anymore. Not now that you've helped Maria escape. Please, put the knife away. Very well. Looks like he's not waking up for a while anyway. The girl withdrew the knife and rose to her feet. Why did you come to Maria's rescue? Because she's my friend, the girl said simply. She's been infected with a virus, Kano said. We have to get her to help as soon as possible. He headed for the stairs that Maria had scampered down. Not so fast. Don't move. The girl's sharp tone made Kano stop. What for? He demanded. I thought you wanted to help. I do want to help her, which is why I'm not letting the police get their hands on her. The girl's voice was quiet but hard as steel. The police are afraid of the UA virus spreading, which is why they'll certainly place Maria under quarantine. If that happens, there won't be any way to save her. Just who in the world are you? Before I answer that, let's make a deal. I genuinely forget her name every single time. Kenna waited non-committal. I have information relevant to this case, the girl continued. I want to make an exchange. Kenna swallowed the lump in his throat. In exchange for what? Tell me where Hitomi Osawa is. Hitomi Osawa? Stanley had taken Hitomi into custody. Kano could probably get in touch and ask him where she was, but... What do you want to know where Hitomi is? Do we have a deal or not? The girl looked like she was in no mood to argue. Still, if she knew about the UA virus, she'd probably tell them the truth about having information. But it was a violation of police policy to leak information on any investigation to a third party. Besides, was it wise to trust this young woman without knowing who she was? Kano weighed his options for a moment before replying... No way, I can't share that info. A thin smile came to the girl's face. That's very noble of you, but I think once you hear what I have to say, you'll change your mind. Who are you? My name is Kanan, that's it. Kanan? Kenneth thought back to the grisly scene at the Foreign Syndicate's hideout. It never occurred to me that she probably killed them. Did she do that? He was almost afraid to wonder. There was a still lingering trace of adolescence in this strange girl's face. It was hard to believe someone so young could be a covert Middle Eastern operative. And yet, is literally the next line, Kano had seen how quickly she'd been able to render Tatano unconscious. Alright then, guess I'll go first, Kanan began. There's someone out there trying to get their hands on the antiviral drug. My objection is to eliminate this person and put a stop to their plan. Kano felt neither surprise nor horror at her use of the term eliminate. After all that had happened today, he realised his sensibilities had gone numb. This person you're after, you're talking about an arms dealer named Alphard, aren't you? Kanan nodded. The UA virus has been weaponized and tested several times on the battlefield, to great effect, she said. The antiviral would render this weapon wholly ineffective. Countries of the world over are dying to get their hands on it. Then why did Alphard orchestrate this kidnapping? If the goal is to get the antiviral, why not steal it from the laboratory? There's a lot about the kidnapping case that sealed that up. Kano was sure Alphard's plan was hidden in these baffling details. Lab security at Okoshi Pharmaceutical is practically perfect. The place is under surveillance 24 hours a day, and getting to where the antiviral is stored requires bypassing 3 sophisticated electronic locks. Getting the antiviral out is impossible. Unexpectedly, a slight grin appeared on Kanan's face. If you were Alphard, how would you steal it? She asked. Huh? Kano was taken aback by the sudden question. She is certainly a spinning PNG on a background PNG right now. He thought good and hard about how to answer. I wonder how far she spins around if you just keep it going. Osawa heads up to the lab. Wouldn't he be able to get at that? No. Accessing the storage facility requires the authentication of both Kenji Osawa and Mamoru Tanaka. It's impossible for one of them to gain the entry alone. That's right. Stanley had mentioned the same thing. The lab security also performs a thorough body search at the building's exit. This ensures that employees can't sneak materials on their way home from work. That lab security was perhaps understandable. Kano tried to think of other ways to gain access to the drug, but none came to him. 6 days ago, Alphard injected Hitomi Osawa with the UA virus. What? The tale had taken a sudden, very unexpected turn. So it wasn't only Maria who'd been infected, but Hitomi as well? And 6 days ago at that? Wait, hold on. Hitomi Osawa was perfectly healthy earlier today. So that must mean... Exactly. Kenji Osawa administered the antiviral to her. An unsettling thought occurred to Kano. It was supposedly impossible for Osawa to access the antiviral by himself, but if he'd been able to give it to his daughter all the same, then that had to mean... He needed Mamoru Tanaka's help to do it, of course, Kanan continued. Which is why Alpha bribed Tanaka ahead of time. So that's what happened. Tanaka had been paid off to inject Hitomi with the virus. Getting Osawa to take action at that point wouldn't have been difficult, but why go to such lengths to get the antiviral administered to Hitomi? Why would Alphard have Hitomi infected with the virus only to have her father cure it? It's been roughly a week since she was given the antiviral. The DDS is still in her body. The what? Essentially, taking blood from Hitomi Osawa would allow someone to extract minuscule amounts of the antiviral. Kanon was stunned. Suddenly all these seemingly unrelated threads were beginning to form a pattern. So, since getting the antiviral itself out of the lab wasn't an option, Alphard must have thought of using a human vessel, he murmured. She murmured. Which means that the thing that Alphard's really after is... Kanon nodded. Yes. Hitomi's blood, she finished. Alphard specifically requested that Hitomi make the ransom handoff, Kanon said. Additionally, the crime syndicate was hired to carry out a relay with the attaché case containing the ransom money. This would disrupt the investigation and distract the police, allowing the kidnappers to target Hitomi in secret. Wait, no, hold on. There was something about this story that made no sense to Kano. Tell me this, he said, Kanon. Why not just kidnap Hitomi in the first place? That was the key question right there. Why kidnap Maria instead? If Alfred wanted Hitomi's blood, abducting her, not her sister, was the obvious move. Apparently, though, they did it by accident. Had the kidnappers mistaken Maria for Hitomi? The two were twins after all, so it wasn't inconceivable, but... It's my fault that Maria was kidnapped. Kanon looked away. I contacted her before this all started. I told her about the kidnapping plan and I gave her a GPS beacon to give it to her sister so I could track Hitomi's location after she was abducted. But my plan backfired. Maria switched places with Hitomi and let herself be taken by Alphard. What the hell? Why hadn't Maria taken this to the police? Or if she was so determined to protect her sister, why not just get her to leave town or something like that? There must have been some sort of accident though, Kanon continued. The GPS was never turned on after the kidnapping and I wasn't able to track Maria down. But there was something that even Alphard hadn't counted on. Kanon cast a glance over at Tatano. This person right here, she said. So, Tatano had disrupted Alphard's plan by going after Hitomi himself. Considering where it's all led, Kanon continued, Alphard must be panicking about now. But we can't let down our guard. Even now I'm sure the mastermind is thinking of some way to fit this man into what this man has done into their master plan. So it's a perfectly imperfect plan, is that what you're saying? Precisely. Kanon flashed Kano an approving grin. I heard that from Stanley, Kano said. The man who drove you to the hospital earlier. The case officer. Case officer? So that was it. Stanley was CIA. The US Embassy in Akasaka functions as the headquarters for the CIA's Japan branch. As the embassy building is not reliably secure, however, the agency carries out many of the activities in specially constructed embassy and annex facilities, often under the guise of cultural exchange organizations. There are reportedly over 100 CIA personnel active in Japan. Given the inherent secrecy involved, the exact number is not officially known. Now that... Wait, just a minute. Yeah. Now that Kano had thought about it, it all made sense. Since Alphard is an arms dealer with world connections, I don't know what nation might be trying to obtain the antiviral. Obviously any country that has the viral weapon would want to prevent their enemies from obtaining it. It's no huge surprise that people are butting in trying to put a stop to Alphard's plan. A tiny beeping sound caught Kano's attention. Kanan pulled a PDA from her breast pocket. Personal Digital Assistant refers to various types of small portable devices for information management, occasionally also referred to as a handheld PC. Interesting. Interesting. The GPS I gave to Maria has just been powered on. Now I can find her location. Where is she? She's on the move. But why is the GPS suddenly active now? Kanan frowned. At any rate, I've told you what I know. Now tell me where Tommy is. Alright. Kanan got to his phone and called Stanley. Here we go. I haven't done my American accent in a while. The American was quick to pick up. What's going on? Where's Hitomi? We're on our way to Endo Electronics in Nagasaki. And Endo Electronics. Where are you going there? Kano was familiar with the dilapidated old storefront. He'd passed by the place countless times. Too long of a story. There's a lot that happened, Stanley replied. How are things at your end? About as bad as they could be, but I'm getting close to the truth. Please make sure you keep Hitomi safe. Alphard is after her blood. Her blood? Kano told... That just sounded Dracula. Told Stanley what he heard from Kanan. I see, so that's what's going... Wait. I see, so that's what's going on. Once we're finished with things in Nagasaki, I'll bring Hitomi right back to the precinct. Where is she? Kanan asked as soon as Kano had hung up. She's on her way to an electronics store in Nagasaki. I see. Kanan checked Maria's location on the PDA. First, I need to get Maria, she said. I'll get to Hitomi after that. I'm going with you. Be my guest. With that, Kanan was off and running. Kano took one last glance at the unconscious Tatano, then hurried after Kanan as fast as he could. They ran from South Hill to Nanpei towards Shibuya Station. As they darted and weaved madly through the narrow side streets, Kanan took an occasional glimpse at her PDA. It felt to Kano that they must be taking the shortest possible route to Maria's location. He stayed quiet, keeping pace as Kanan led the way. Before he knew it, they were headed up Nagasaki. In not too long, they'd be at Endo Electronics. Hey! Kano called out Kanan. What? She shouted back without turning. You sure this is the right area? Are you doubting the GPS? Actually, can I see that GPS unit? Kano peered over at Kanan's shoulder and saw the GPS was indeed pointing to the direction they were headed. They weren't just running around at random, nor was the unit broken. Huh. And all electronics is right up ahead, he said. What? Kanan stopped abruptly. What are you suggesting? The twins are headed for the same location, or maybe that Stanley has mixed them twins up or something, I don't know. That's my guess. But that doesn't make any sense given what we know. Still, what did that actually mean? Kano hadn't figured that out yet. They took off running again. Before long, Endo Electronics came to view. Kanan stopped in front of the shop door. Right here, she said, glancing at it again at the GPS. I knew it, Kano thought. Endo Electronics, the same place that Hitomi was headed. Guess we're all winding up together, Kanan said, or else we've been brought together. She peered keenly at the building and its surroundings. Kano swallowed hard. We? You think you've been roped into this too? Quite possibly. Kanan flashed a winning smile, then started to head to the shop. Hold on, I need to report this into HQ. Kano hurriedly called Kuze on his cell. Kano, what's going on? I've located Marisawa. Huh? What's that? Kuze's words came out as a surprised and childish yelp. Come on. Kanan smiled under a steely glare. Time is crucial. He nodded silently back to it. Kano, what's this location? Kuze asked. Where are you? I can't say right now, sir. Please, just leave this to me. Hey! Just hold on! But Kano ignored the director's squawking and hung up. Kanan had already entered the shop. She seemed wholly unconcerned by the idea that she might be playing right into Alphard's hand. Despite her youth, she clearly thought of herself as quite capable. Warily, he followed after her. After navigating a veritable cavern of junk, they came to a door that led to the living area beyond. Kanan quietly opened the door and immediately stepped inside. The home was divided into a dwelling area and a workroom. A man's voice could be overheard from the workroom, raised in anger. Don't you want to save Suzune? Kano and Kanan crept closer. Peering through the next doorway, they saw a tense confrontation in progress. Maria and Stanley were standing there, looking down at a middle-aged man who had restrained Hitomi with a stun gun pressed to her throat. Dad, of course I want to help, Susanna. A young man stepped into view, speaking to the older fella. But do you think this is what she'd want you to do? Kano watched intently, tensing for action. There was so much risk here. He was about to barge into the workroom when Kanan grabbed him by the shoulder. I can't remember if Kano has actually seen Archie on the true timeline. He must have. Let's wait and see how this goes first, she whispered. He realized this was good advice. If they provoke the older man, things could very well take a sharp turn for the worse. They just have to hope the young man could talk him down. Archie time. This hour seems fairly straightforward though. Archie told Stanley and Tommy what his father had done. Wait, what were they up to again? I think they'd just seen Stanley at the hospital and yeah. As she listened, Hitomi hung her head. Her face was sallow? I'm so sorry, Archie told her. I'm not really sure what to say. He clenched his fist so hard his knuckles popped, struggling to keep his emotions in check. So if I were branded, you could help your sister? Hitomi murmured. A state where brain functions have ceased irreversibly. In Japan there are two conditions for declaring breath death. The first is the patient must be comatose and in a state of apnea, no longer breathing due to damage to the brain. The second is that the root cause is diagnosed and is deemed no reasonable treatment will restore brain function. Stop, Archie said quickly. Please, don't say things like that. A sad look came to Hitomi's face, and she pressed her right hand to her heart. I meant to find out like this. She turned to Archie, tears glistening in her eyes. I want to help your sister, but... I can't tell if that's a reference or yeah. We have other things to worry about right now. This time it was Stanley who cut her off. Remember, our father's after you, Tommy. Isn't that what Kanan told you? Is it a song I should know, or am I dumb? I know there's an Australian song called Coma. Actually, there are two Australian songs called Coma. Oh, okay. I know of them, I don't know their music, really. Yes, she said I was the mastermind's target. Hitomi wiped her tears away with her fingertips. Wait. So our father and Archie's father are after the same thing, Stanley said. Isn't that just a coincidence? Didn't sound like he thought so. Hold up, Archie growled, leaning in from the backseat. Yeah, my dad's way out of line, but he did what he did for Susanna. He wouldn't work with terrorists. I'm not saying he's deliberately aiding terrorists, Stanley replied coolly. It's just common sense that a pro wouldn't let an amateur get involved with their plans. That makes it likely that clumsy misstep will cause things to fall apart. Then again, that's not the way our father thinks. So actually, the likelihood of failure could well be part of the plan. I actually thought back to what Kanan had said earlier. If you achieve your goals using accidental means, the outcomes becomes blurred, and it makes it harder for anyone outside looking in to grasp what the actual plan is. Not only have they put together a perfect plan, they've purposely left certain tiny holes in it. Just a moment. This is extremely not important, but... Three. So that really is the only bad ending in this hour. That's interesting. They must want me to end the stream soon. Or like, they must want me to get a good night's sleep. So if we assume the plan has failed, this slip-up might be exactly what Alphard wants, Stanley muttered. Sort of an intentional haul then, Archie said. Stanley snorted. Canaan told you guys that too, huh? If that's the case, you really are a fool. What did you just call me? Archie barked. If you've known along how formidable this opponent is, you should have given Tommy over to police custody right away. It's only a matter of dumb luck that either of you are still alive right now. Like, look, lucky that me and Tommy have managed to get by safely. That's all that matters. I mean, I could also, before I go to bed, I could actually read the second half of the Watanashi arc, and that's kind of sleep depriver. What exactly is the relationship between you two anyway? Are you guys dating? Archie and Tommy exchanged glances. When Tommy hesitated uneasily, Archie decided he better speak up. No, it isn't like that. We just happened to run into each other earlier today. Guess I'm not the kind of guy who can abandon someone in trouble. Can't abandon someone in trouble, huh? You sure you ain't just trying to make yourself feel self-important? There are plenty of people out there that you can't see who are also in trouble, who are also suffering. If you only help out the ones close at hand, then what's the point, really? The world's a lot bigger than you can imagine, and there's a lot you're blind to. So if I see someone who's in trouble, I'm supposed to just ignore them then? No, I can't do that. If I see someone who's collapsed from hunger, I'm not gonna just walk on by because there are people starving somewhere else in the world. I'll be all, hey, let me treat you to a beef bowl or whatever. You couldn't have come up with a smarter example? Stanley replied with a shiny laugh. Okay, so I'm an idiot. Archie scowled. My bad. Stanley laughed again. Today's been an interesting day, he said. I was with another fellow earlier, he was just like you. Mean what? Was he an idiot too? Yeah, he was an idiot. Do all you Japanese have that problem? Hardly. My little sister's so smart she'd make your eyes pop out. Well, I'm sure relieved to hear that. If everyone in this country were as dumb as you guys, I might actually start to like this place. Huh? What does that even mean? Talk so I can understand, man. She shot back. But Stanley didn't respond. Instead, he stuck his head out the car window, peering at the road ahead. They were close to Shibuya Station now, and traffic had ground to a halt. Gridlock again? Stanley grumbled. It's probably better to walk the rest of the way to Edo Electronics. Pulled over on the side of the road. Specifically the shoulder that runs on either side of the travel portion of the roadway. A place where trash tossed out the window of moving cars tends to accumulate. Tossing cigarette butts and empty cans out in the street can potentially hurt people and definitely makes a mess. Please, don't litter. This post made by the Archie gang. Archie got out of the car, feeling his guts knot up with worry. Pretty soon he was going to have to confront his father. Stanley gave Archie a look. You scared about meeting with your father? I'm not scared. First things first, I'm gonna punch him right in the face, then we can have ourselves a chat. Don't let your emotions get out of control. Your father might be one of the key players in this case. I don't give a damn about that. Archie took Hitomi by the hand and started walking. They'd gone up and down Donganzaka so many times today already. This was probably the last time he and Hitomi would make their way up the hill together. Archie walked at an easy pace, wanting to delay the end of their time together just a little longer. Once they reached his home, this kidnapping case would be all over because his own father, Daisuke, would be arrested as the culprit. Kidnapping for ransom carries a potential life sentence with a definite term of imprisonment of no less than 3 years. Bringing Daisuke down would be easy. Archie wasn't worried about that part at all. If he didn't hold back, there was a good chance he'd wind up hurting his father. Holding back. Getting hurt. Oh, it's baby Archie. And he's thank egging. A memory from long ago rose in Archie's mind. A pure white karate gi. Thrusting out with his left fist. Daisuke collapsing to the floor. One of many memories of his father that Archie could not forget. Kneeling before the memorial altar of his mother, Katone, Archie wept uncontrollably. He clutched his ohajiki tightly in his hand. A toy made from a small coin shaped glass beads, somewhat similar to marbles. The typical game involves flicking one's pieces into the opponents with a fingertip. Specific rules vary greatly by region. Archie had always been rather clingy with his mother. When she was alive, she had often joined him for ohajiki, origami, and the like. On this particular day, Archie had come home miserably after getting bullied by the neighborhood kids for acting like a wimp. Shit. Does he have an Alf ohajiki? Because Alf is back in Pog form.
Archie!
He turned to see his father holding 2 cups of shaved ice. 1 man, 2 cups.
Come here for a bit.
They sat on the stairs together eating their sweet frozen confection.
You want to get tougher?
Daisuke's words were soft and simple.
How about you and me get tougher together?
Archie looked at his father, frowning in confusion.
How are we gonna do that? Well, for starters, how about we learn some karate? Karate?
Archie's face twisted up unhappily at the idea. Couldn't even imagine him punching or kicking anyone.
It'll be alright, his dad said. I'll go with you, don't you worry.
Daisuke flexed one of his scrawny arms. His biceps bulged up the tiniest bit. Archie was well aware that his father wasn't much of an athlete. There had been an athletics meet in his grade school. Even now, the memory of Daisuke tripping clumsily during the parent participation relay was burned in Archie's mind. A type of children's event where the parents have to come and watch their children compete or asked to join with them. Daisuke took part in the tug of war, only to get tangled up in the rope and dragged over the line. Archie was understandably disheartened by his father's embarrassing display, but after eating up the lunch his father had made for him, his spirits quickly returned. Daisuke had made rice balls that were clumsily oversalted, but Archie could tell how hard he worked to prepare them.
I mean, if you're gonna be there.
And so, the two began training together at a local karate dojo. And there he met a girl. No. Archie put his white gi and fastened his obi tightly. As he did so, he felt as if his feelings were being anchored in place as well.
Ich, ni, san, here, to, me.
Archie's gi sleeves were made a whooshing sound as he thrust out his fists in time with the sensei's chant. Even simple kata practice somehow made him feel he was getting stronger, somehow. His dad, having left Suzune in the care of their neighbours, was working up a sweat alongside him. Oh shit, it's Ifumi, sorry, I forgot the man's name. The man whose surname I will not mention for spoiler reasons. But he was out of shape, his technique was shaky, and soon exhausted and went to lean up against the dojo wall. Archie stepped out of the training circle and called out to his father.
Dad, are you okay? Yeah, I'm just gonna take a little break.
Daisuke looked like he was on the edge of hyperventilating.
Thanks, Dad. Huh? For what? For asking me to come along and take karate lessons with you.
Archie was sure he'd never dared to go to the dojo alone.
Hey, just so as long as you're liking it. Now go on, get back to training.
With a deep bow, Archie resumed his kata practice. As they were walking home from the dojo, Archie turned to his father.
How come you want to get stronger, Dad? He asked. I mean, you're not getting bullied by your friends.
Daisuke was quiet for a few minutes before answering. His words came out awkward and embarrassed.
I was picked on a lot when I was your age too, Archie. I had a friend who would always come and bail me out. A friend? You have friends?
Tadno.
Yeah, a friend.
A distant look came to his father's eyes.
He was a real fighter. I always looked up to him. I wasn't really strong like him.
His expression turned lonely.
I don't get to see him anymore though. Why not? Archie asked. Did he die? No, nothing like that. Then did you guys have a fight? Something like that.
Daisuke smiled sadly. He stared out of the sky for a while before speaking up again.
His name's Tadno. My friend, that's his name.
Archie's father increased his pace.
Come on, he said. We have to go and pick up Suzune.
After that, despite Archie's questions, Daisuke would say no more about his old friend. By the time he was almost done with grade school, Archie had grown up fit and strong, almost unrecognisable from his younger self. Perhaps he'd had the physical knack in him all along. He was chosen as the representative for the boys' karate team, even managing to take second place in a national tournament. Nobody bullied Archie anymore. One time, Daisuke suggested the two of them do some sparring. Archie may have been a national competitor, sure, but he was still a grade schooler squaring off against an adult. His father had been training for close to 2 years now as well. His confidence had grown accordingly. Archie was excited to be able to face off against his old man. Early on in their karate training, Archie's kumite had seemed rather hopeless. He had been shocked that his out-of-shape father wasn't able to overpower him, but also pleased to get a sense of how strong the man was. This time, Archie thought, he might as well lose again, but he was going to go all out. As they adopted their fighting stances, Daisuke's face was full of confidence. The instructor gave the signal to begin, and Archie opened with a sharp low kick. Daisuke didn't guard against it. The blow caught him in the thigh. It looked to Archie like he'd allowed himself to take the hit, not fearing the effect of the child's kick. Archie proceeded to unleash several more low kicks to the same spot. Bit by bit, Daisuke's face revealed his discomfort. Finally, he yanked his leg away. That was when Archie realised. His father wasn't letting himself get hit on purpose. He was just unable to keep up with the speed of his son's footwork. If that was the case, Archie felt bad about exploiting his dad's weakness. He decided to leave his leg alone. Instead, he aimed to punch at his father's midsection. He was shocked by the impact as the blow struck home. He hadn't attacked with a great deal of force. He'd just thrown a light midsection punch as a check. Thank Egg. But as Archie pulled back his fist, Daisuke crumpled to the floor, writhing in pain as he clutched his gut. Archie stared in disbelief at his own hand. That reminds me of something. Oh yeah, that's right. There's a Simpsons thing where, like, I think it's like Homer says, like, he could beat up Bart at like a certain age, and then he finds out though he's still getting bullied by Bart or something stupid like that. Archie stared in disbelief at his own hand. That was the last day that Daisuke went to the dojo.
Your dad's pathetic. Yeah, he's such a loser.
Archie was on his way home from practice, and some older students in the dojo started ribbing on him.
What did you just say?
The kids were middle schoolers, but Archie wasn't about to back down. He thrust out a quick punch, stopping it just short of one of the boys' nose.
Go on, say again, I'll kick your ass.
The older boys went pale and took off and ran, but this small victory did nothing to bolster Archie's spirits. His father had looked so small and lonely, heading away after quitting karate, but Archie didn't think there was anything pathetic about it. Sure, maybe now he was better at karate than his father, but really, what difference did that make? In growing stronger, he'd learned something. Using force to win out over someone else didn't mean anything. Strength alone didn't determine a person's worth. Archie loved and respected his father for going to the dojo with him. Beating him at a karate match didn't change the way he felt. Archie resurfaced from his memories to hear Stanley talking on his phone.
I see, so that's what's going on. Once we're finished with things in Dogenzaka, I'll bring Hitomi right back to the precinct.
Curious, Archie turned to the American.
But bring Hitomi in. Do you mean you're gonna arrest her?
Archie couldn't think of any other reason to take her to the precinct.
I'm just gonna move her someplace safe.
With that, Stanley proceeded to wrap up his phone call. Guess I'm not going to get much out of this guy, Archie thought. Move her someplace safe, huh? Was he actually serious, or was he being invasive? Archie couldn't really tell. If they tried to arrest Hitomi though, Archie intended to stop them, one way or another. He's going to find him. He's going to get you. He needed to protect her all the way to the end. Inwardly, he reaffirmed the vow he made earlier to keep her safe no matter whatever it took. But now they could see Endo Electronics up ahead. Archie was about to hurry inside when Stanley stopped him.
I'll go in first. You two wait out here. No way, this is my dad we're talking about. And you don't think it's dangerous to bring Hitomi right to him? Well, alright. We'll wait here for a bit, and once we know it's safe, we'll head on in. Cool with that? I'm cool with that. Stanley stepped inside. Archie fussed about impatiently, staring at the entryway. The palm of his clenched fist was sweating. His knees weren't weak because he was strong at karate. Never before in his life he wanted to just deck his old man. Hitomi watched him uneasily. Hitomi? Yes? I'm sorry. I really don't want you to have to come see this, but I think you're about to witness the crowning shame of an end to a family history. Archie, don't say that, Hitomi said. She squeezed his hand. Found his other fist unclenching. Please, you have to try to talk to your father. Yeah, I know. Hang on. Ah, Toho. Anyway. I have no reason to know any Toho song that isn't the Umineko song. Suddenly there was a loud crash from inside the building. The time for waiting had passed. Let's go! Archie and Hitomi raced inside. Barging into the living quarters without bothering to shed his shoes, he heard his father's voice coming in from the workroom. Dad! Archie hurried through the workroom door and saw Stanley holding his father pinned across the desk. Let me go, please, let me go! Daisuke thrashed both his legs. Stanley, please, let my father go. I want to talk to him. Stanley snorted dismissively, but did as was asked. Daisuke stood up, rubbing at a sore wrist. This is gonna get bad. Dad, please, you have to tell me. Where is Maria? Maria? What are you talking about? Daisuke wouldn't meet his eyes. Don't play dumb with me, Archie pointed at Hitomi. You know who this is, don't you? Hitomi Osawa, the girl you've been after. Maria is her sister. But Daisuke remained silent. You gonna pretend you didn't call the hospital? Nothing about maybe being able to get your hands on a heart? I mean, seriously? It's all so simple. Even I can tell what's been going on. You've been watching me and Hitomi through the surveillance cameras, and you were telling that guy with the cane where we were. The blood began to drain from his father's face. Shit, I hadn't thought of that actually. Archie's smarter than me. Don't you go quiet on me. If I'm wrong, then go ahead. Tell me the truth. Daisuke's arm shot out suddenly, knocking an external hard drive from his desk on the floor. I don't like to see that. It was over and done before Stanley could stop him. Stanley hutched down and picked up the shattered drive. I'm guessing there was important data on here. Footage from cameras, maybe? I have no idea what you're talking about, Daisuke spat. You can't do this to an innocent person, Dad, Archie shouted, grabbing his father by the collar. There was a sound of footsteps from out the shop. In the shop, someone was quickly getting closer. Stanley grabbed Hitomi by the hand and pulled her back against the wall. Archie stiffened as he turned his gaze to the door. Here we go. It was Kanan's fault. But before we do that, let's go back to Osawa. And I might genuinely be near the end. Osawa's phone rang and Minorikawa's phone number popped up on the LCD display. The reporter must have finished looking into the matter Osawa had asked about. Mr. Osawa, sorry to keep you waiting. How did it go? Well, I listened to the background of the story you asked about and learned who your wife was dating. Who was it? Osawa asked immediately. There was a brief pause. Mamoru Tanaka. I see.
Finally, he had proof positive of a relationship between I, Osawa's wife, and Tanaka. Now more than ever, it was no time to waver. Sorry. No matter how painful the reality was, it was also true that if they hadn't been dating, there would be probably no way of saving Maria. So, Minorikawa said, what was this big thing about disrupting the power balance? What is it all about?
There's something I need to take care of on my end first. Once I'm finished, I'll tell you everything.
Yeah, that's fine. Things are pretty hectic on my end now anyway. Osawa had expected Minorikawa to put up more of a fight. He figured as a reporter for Four-Side General Gossip might be a bit more persistent. Oh, by the way, there was one more thing I wanted to tell you, Mr. Osawa. Osawa practically sensed the finger pointing his way from the other end of the line. Don't be too angry with your wife. All too often in this world, people let their anger get in the way of solving their problems.
You may have a point.
Osawa let out a wry chuckle.
Alright then, I'll call you back later.
Osawa found Osawa's wife, standing by herself in the yard. She kept her back to him as he approached.
May I have a moment?
He asked quietly. What? Still, she didn't bother to turn around.
There's something important I need to tell you about.
I'm not in the mood right now. Please.
Please. I, Osawa's wife. I realize you're upset about Tanaka's death, but
At the mention of Tanaka's name, I, Osawa's wife, slowly shook her head. Don't. Just tell me what you want. Hurry up and get to the point. Osawa tried to move closer to her, but she pointedly kept her distance. There was something Osawa needed to hear from himself before this went any further.
were you in love with Tanaka?
What are you talking about? Osawa frowned.
Why did you marry me? He asked.
You've got to be kidding. This is the important discussion you wanted to have?
Did you ever love me?
I, Osawa's wife, let out a joyless chuckle. Love? You mean I? I'm amazed to even hear that word leave your lips. There was a note of challenge in her voice. Let me ask you the same question. Did you ever love me?
To be honest, I married you because I thought my daughters needed the mother.
Wow. I, Osawa's wife, let out a weary sigh. Some of the combative tension left her shoulders. That it really is honest, she said. So I guess I should be honest too. I married you because my father asked me to. He wanted to chain you down so you didn't leave for some other company.
And you were okay with marrying someone for something like that?
For something like that? You really have no idea how much you're worth, do you? The value of one woman's life versus the potential profits of your research would bring in. There's no comparing the two. If it meant that no Koshi Pharmaceuticals could monopolize your talent, then what did it even matter that I wanted you for myself? There was something akin to desperation in I, Osawa's wife's words.
And so you sent me those threatening emails too?
What? I looked at him in shock. He knew he'd guessed correctly.
You would go that far just to keep me tied to your father's business?
That's right. I would. I, Osawa's wife, bit down her lip hard. Except not in this picture. But what would you even know about how I feel?
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. I, Osawa's wife, shook her head vehemently. I'm not the victim here.
You say that, but isn't it because of me that you and Tanaka weren't able to stay together?
I, Osawa's wife, began to tremble. A secret was out. When did you figure that out? She asked.
Earlier today, that tire clip.
Right. Not the sort of gift one gives to one's husband's co-worker, is it? Even if it was a listening device. I, Osawa's wife's smile was bitter with self-deprecation. Osawa, I's wife, couldn't help but pity her. I's husband. Even Tanaka must have suspected that she placed the company's profit above all else, if she'd go to such lengths to protect its interests. It was like she'd given up her entire life just for that. And, like, what if she just did it for her grandfather? Well, she said, aren't you angry? Osawa just shook his head.
Could you tell me just one thing though? He asked. Did Tanaka ever tell you what his lab password was?
His password?
I needed to get the antiviral out of the lab.
I, Osawa's wife, flinched at the suggestion. To get it out? What are you thinking? That belongs to the company.
I need just one dose to save Maria. Please, if you know, please tell me.
I don't know it. I, Osawa's wife's voice was barely a whisper. Osawa, Ai's husband, looked at his wife, Ai, Osawa's wife, right in the eye.
You're telling the truth.
I am.
I see. Then do you have any idea what number he might have used for a password?
Ai, Osawa's wife, shook her head silently, then turned to her back to her husband, Osawa, Ai's husband, once again. Tanaka hadn't given Ai, Osawa's wife, his password. Osawa's last chance had gone up in smoke. He let out a long shaky breath and shut his eyes tight. Was it true? Was there nothing more he could do? Another keep out. I guess this might be the last one to finish. Ooh, we're getting pretty close. Oh. Okay. Was there another jump I missed? Or maybe I can make a different decision here. That's weird. No, it's not that. Can I scan the area? It's just the Endo Electronics is right up ahead. What? Can unstopped abruptly.
What was that about just now?
Stanley's reply was clipped.
I know what they're after now.
With that, Stanley proceeded to wrap up the phone call. Guess I'm not going to get much out of this guy, I actually thought. Let's say by now they could see Endo Electronics. Yeah, they're right in front of it.
Who are you just talking to?
Stanley's reply was clipped.
That other idiot. No, that other idiot I was telling you about earlier.
With that, Stanley proceeded to wrap up the phone call. Guess I'm not going to get much out of this guy, I actually thought. Well, that does nothing. Maybe this will change it. His anger rising, Archie picked up speed as he marched on and wanted to confront his father as soon as possible. His father was wrong. Even if he was acting to save Suzune, he was absolutely wrong. A crime was a crime regardless of the motive. This was a crime his father needed to atone for, and if he resisted, Archie would take him down even if he had to use his fists.
Even if I have to use my fists.
Still the same. No other decisions there. I'm kind of confused right now. Why not just use Tanaka for the vessel instead of Hitomi? Tanaka could enter the lab along with Asawa, then secretly inject himself with the antiviral. It didn't seem like they'd be terribly difficult. A good question. If getting the antiviral were the only goal, that would be the most expedient way of doing it. So then why use Hitomi Osawa? Kanan asked. Kanan thought it for a moment before answering. Tanaka may have objected to the idea of giving himself the drug. I hear that it can have some severe side effects. But she seemed unconvinced by her own words. Do you know where they targeted Hitomi? Kanan demanded. I don't, but I'm sure there must be some reason. Alphard hadn't gone with using Tanaka, which would have been the sure thing. Instead they'd gone with Hitomi. Hitomi was injected with the virus, brought into the lab, and used to sneak the antiviral out. Now the plan was to extract the antiviral from Hitomi's blood. The idea still struck Kano as incredibly odd. So what? Wait, why not just abduct Hitomi from the very beginning? Why kidnap Maria instead? The girls hadn't gotten themselves mixed up, had they? Maria with Hitomi, Hitomi with Maria. If that were the case, then the Syndicate's plan would have actually been to abduct Hitomi. Yeah, Kano said excitedly. When you think about it, it all makes sense. Kanado gave him a look. No, it doesn't. Not that it isn't an interesting idea. Well, so much for that, Kano thought. I've met Maria and Hitomi, Kanan said. They look alike, but they're completely different. That was definitely Maria who was here just now. She had a point. Last night, back at the Yosawa residence, when Hitomi had agreed to make the ransom pay off, her parents would have been with her, and they certainly wouldn't have met Maria and Hitomi confused. It was hard to believe the girls had actually switched places, which meant the criminals had deliberately abducted Maria after all. It'd be like mixing up two completely different colours, Kanan said. They're that different. So it wasn't Alphard's mistake. It's my fault that Maria was kidnapped. Kanan looked away. Well, that's not it either. There's more decision trees though. First, I need to know who you are. My name is Kanan. Kanan? Kenneth thought back to the grisly scene at the Foreign Syndicate's hideout. Did she do that? Kenneth was almost afraid to wonder. As if sensing his unease, Kanan spoke up, her voice low and calm. Once you hear what I have to say, I think you'll be more inclined to tell me where Hitomi is. There's still a lingering trace of it. Yep. Same as it ever was. This is not my beautiful timeline. Alright, I'll tell you, Kano agreed. The girl gave a tiny nod. But first, what's your name? Kanan. Kanan? Kano thought back to the grisly scene at the Foreign Syndicate hideout. Did she do that? There must be some way to get those locks open, right? Not possible, Kanan said, shaking her head. And you can trust me on that. Lock breaking is my specialty. Security must be tougher than Kano had thought then. Still, there are ways. They're just very indirect ways. Kanan paused before continuing the ominous tone. 6 days ago, Alphard injected Hitomi Osawa with the UA virus. If you can't sneak something out, maybe you could sneak something in? Kanan hadn't thought of any particular flash of insight, he just figured the opposite of the obvious might be an answer. To his surprise, Kanan gave a nod. Very astute. Wait, really? 6 days ago, Alphard injected Hitomi Osawa with the UA virus. You wouldn't need to steal it, just wait until the drug hits pharmacy shelves, right? Kanan narrowed her eyes at Kano's naivete. This isn't the sort of drug they sell at the corner store, she said. Getting approval for a new drug takes time. Could be another 5 to 10 years before this antiviral hits the marketplace. So essentially, if someone got their hands on the antiviral now, they'd have a monopoly on it for a good while, Kano asked. I understood why Alphard was going Simon Lex to obtain the drug. Still, that only brought him right back to the original question. It's not such a nice word to say. How might someone go about stealing the antiviral from the laboratory? 6 days ago. Yep. Alright. That is all the same. One more. Well, 2 more actually. Was there really no other way to get the antiviral? Kanno waited to make absolutely sure. If there were people besides Osawa and Tanaka who had the means to get the drug out, that changed the story completely. I infiltrated the lab security system and did some looking around, Kanan said. There's nothing in the logs showing that anything was taken out. There's also no sign the logs were altered at all, which means we should assume nobody else was capable of taking the antiviral out. Alpha must have made the same assumption and decided to use Tommy. I see. Under the circumstances, that made sense. Some third party could have gotten an antiviral. Alpha could have reached out to them from the beginning. There'd have been no need to go through the trouble of injecting Hitomi with the virus, getting her into the lab, and using her to sneak the antiviral out. Even so, Kanna still found one thing confusing. If that's the case, why kidnap Maria? Why not just kidnap Hitomi and be done with it? Surely they hadn't been so foolish as to abduct the wrong target. So kidnapping Maria must have been intentional. But it didn't add up. No matter how he looked at it, Kanno couldn't see any reason to kidnap Hitomi's sister. It's my fault that Maria was kidnapped. Kanan looked away. I contacted her before. Okay. That's all of those decisions, and I'm still lost. Oh, maybe I need to pick a different decision here? I don't know. This seems weird. There was no time to mince words. Did Tanaka give you his password? His password? For the electronic lock on the lab. I needed an order to get the antiviral out. Osawa's wife turned to face him at last. To get it out? What are you thinking? That belongs to the company. I just need one dose to save Maria. Please, if you know, please tell me. I don't know it. Osawa's wife's voice was barely a whisper. Osawa looked his wife right in the eye, and still not letting me skip. You're telling the truth. I am. I see. Then do you have any idea what number he might have used for a password? Osawa's wife shook her head silently and turned her back to the husband once more. You know, if I did know it, she said, I wouldn't tell you. Why not? Don't you get it? Osawa's wife's words came out as a strangled rasp. Do you even know why I'm with you? She snapped. You really have no idea how much you're worth, do you? The value of one woman's life versus the potential profits your research would bring in, there's no comparing the two. If it meant that Okoshi Pharmaceutical could monopolize your talent, then what did it even matter if I wanted it for myself? Something akin to desperation in Osawa's wife's words. So you sent me those threatening emails too? What? I looked at him in shock. He knew he guessed correctly. You will go that far just to keep me tied to your father's business? That's right, I would. Osawa's wife bit down on her lip hard. But what would you even know about how I feel? I'm sorry. Don't apologize. I'm not the victim here. You say that, but isn't it because of me that you and Tanaka weren't able to stay together? Osawa's wife began to tremble. Her secret out. When did you figure it out? She asked. Earlier today, that tire clip. Right. No, this was the gift once again because his husband's co-worker is that Osawa's wife smiles with self-deprecation. Osawa couldn't pity her further. Even Tanaka must have suspected that she placed the customer's presence above all else. She goes to such lengths to protect it. It was like she'd given up her entire life just for that. Please, don't miss my life by me more than you already have. Osawa's wife's words were only a faint moment, but Osawa felt the rejection to carry out with an amazing clarity. Tanaka hadn't given Osawa's wife his password. Osawa had the last chance to go up and smoke. He let out his long shaky breath and shut his eyes tight. Was it true? Was there nothing more he could do? I'm a bit puzzled. I have a jump that doesn't work. There are no decisions on Osawa's timeline apart from that. Unless somehow this jump works again in a different spot. Which it does not. I guess I'll do his choices as well. Just give it till we're done. Until you're done. And when I'm happy, I wonder. Katayama's tone was dubious. I said until we're done, Norikawa snapped. And I mean till we're done. Like, seriously, am I being stupid or is this like being obtuse on purpose? Katayama thought for a moment and then nodded. Very well, then I shall wait until you're done. Really? Katayama gave a slight nod. You've got 10 minutes and 46 seconds left. Hey! As soon as I leave here, that's when you'll be done, you see? Katayama's face was a mask of cool nonchalance. You son of a bitch! Don't get all high and mighty just because you work for a printer. High and mighty? That's just the people in the pub. Yep. But I swear, like, there's like nowhere I could go though. Just give it until 8 o'clock. That was the original understanding. It was unfair to change it now. 8 o'clock. And where's your guarantee that you'll finish by then? We will. Just trust me. I'm supposed to heedlessly trust the words of a man I've never met. Katayama mused. We're down to 10 minutes and 46 seconds, by the way. You son of a bitch! Don't get all high and mighty just because you're working for a printer. I've legitimately done everything though. I don't want to look it up, but I feel like I have to. Wait. A thought occurs. There couldn't possibly be a time jump for another hour, could there? Yeah, if you want to, that would be great, because I don't want to accidentally spoil myself. I've already spoiled myself a couple times.
So we're at the 5 o'clock hour, and we need a jump to like 5:25 for Archie. I worry I have to make some sort of secret code in all of these decision points that like spells out the password for Osawa, and he has a zero skip brain blast. So the keep out for Kano is at 5:35, and the keep out for Archie is at 5:25. There's also Osawa's, but I assume that comes after. I just have to hope the young man could talk him down. Wasn't letting me skip that text, by the way. Oh, okay, I get you. I somehow missed those when I was doing this. Oops, sorry. Just trying to fix up my screen. Okay, that's fair enough, but it's also something I totally forgot. Ender! Wait, I'll play through and fix Minorikawa's first before I do this. Tell my forward is brothers and mother than his riff. No, that's not right. The workroom door slowly eased open. Archie was too shocked for words. The girl who entered looked just like Hitomi. Maria! No, Maria! Hitomi! Archie blinked in bewilderment. It was almost as if Hitomi was standing in front of a mirror. The two girls looked so similar. Maria, thank goodness you're alright. I'm so sorry I had you worried. Maria was safe, Archie realised. At last, he had managed to fulfill his duty. Wait, you? How did you manage to get out of the storeroom? Daisuke had gone pale. Tell me, Maria said sharply, who was it who came up with this kidnapping plan? Suddenly, Daisuke shoved Maria aside and lunged for Hitomi. Stanley moved to stop him, but before he could intervene, the older man had a hold on his homie, pressing something that looked like a flashlight up against her neck. Dad! No, Dad! Archie started towards him, but Stanley held up a hand. Don't move, that's a stun gun! A piece of self-defense equipment for repelling would-be attackers with electrical shock. There are several types, including baton-type stun prods and guns that fire needles attached to flexible wires. The latter type especially is frequently referred to in the US as a taser or taser gun due to the popular models produced by Taser International, now Axon. Stun guns are used not only by civilians but also by law enforcement and military personnel for non-lethal applications. If he zaps her in the neck, that could kill her. You know your stuff, Dusker said. You deal in American electronics. Oh, it's Stanley. No. I do this for a living. Stanley drew his gun to his in an instant, taking aim at Dusker's forehead. Archie was too shocked to even move. Stanley took another step towards Dusker, keeping his gun trained on the other man. Hey, stop this! Please, just stop! Snapping out of his daze, Archie scampered between the two men. Stanley didn't lower his gun, but unless he shoved it Archie aside, he couldn't get a clear shot at Archie's dad. Archie turned to face his father. Dad, let Hitomi go. You need to stop this nonsense. Archie walked slowly towards his father, a pleading look in his eyes. Nonsense? Which of us is talking nonsense here? You don't know what's going on. If you know everything, then you'd be helping me. What do you mean, everything? With this girl's heart, we can save Suzune. Dad, who was it exactly who told you that? Dusker did not reply. I asked you a question. Who was it that put the crazy idea in your head? A foreign organ trafficker I met at the hospital, Dusker muttered. In Japan, a medical professional known as a transplant coordinator handles the liaison between the donor and the recipient parties, but there are many cases of illegal or borderline illegal activities carried out by third-party organ brokers. There are countries where organ transplants are openly performed for monetary gain, and no shortage of specialists willing to do the job. These questionable markets include suppliers who support valuable organs and tissue for transport from cadavers. Stanley let out a snort. A likely story. It's true, I was suspicious at first myself, Dusker said suddenly, but I couldn't just sit around and wait for Suzune to die. And after talking to him about her rare blood type and all the difficulties in performing a transport, he promised to do everything in his power. Dusker's hands were trembling. So throw him a line. Tears welled up in his vacant and bloodshot eyes. Then a while back, he got in touch and told me he found a potential match, someone with the same blood type as Suzune and roughly the same age. But then he told me that the girl was still alive. And so, what was the point? Her heart might be a match for Suzune's, but it didn't matter if we couldn't get our hands on it. And I said that... But then the man told me. He told you what? Archie bit his lip. He told me to abduct her and turn her over to him. After that, he'd find a way to make it all work. At last, Dusker had confessed. Now Archie had to try and come to grips with the truth he just heard. I had to do something, his father continued vehemently. I had to abduct this girl and see things through. I just couldn't take it. Continent had already been taken from me. The thought of losing Suzune, too, I had to make sure I didn't fail. So is this organ trafficker who came up with the kidnapping scheme then, Stanley said. He kept his gun aimed at his target. Dusker nodded. Describe him for me. He was tall and had black hair. Spoke fluent Japanese. Stanley raised an eyebrow at that. Archie wondered if he had some idea who it might be. Taking Maria Sawa hostage in order to lure out Hitomi, that was his idea as well? Yep. Yes, that's right. I allowed his computer to access my surveillance camera system as well. But then, this morning, I got a call from the hospital saying Suzune's condition was critical. I couldn't wait any longer. I had to help my girl right away. And then... Dusker cut himself off, reaffirming his grip on the stun gun. I was looking at the surveillance monitor and saw a detective I happened to know. He was right next to this girl here, so I decided to ask him. I knew if I did, he wouldn't refuse. He could never refuse a request from me. And that was the man with the cane? Archie asked. His voice was low and hoarse. Yes, I was giving him directions while I followed you on the monitors. Dad, you need to let go of Hitomi now. There's no point to this. Archie took another step closer to his father. There is a point. If I kill this girl here now, your sister can get the surgery she needs. But even Archie knew that things couldn't possibly work out that way. His father had grown so desperate to help Suzune that he lost all sense of judgment. Why, Archie? Why won't you help me? Don't you want to save Suzune? Dusker made a pathetic sight. And yet his desperation to save his child was so palpable it was heartrending. Archie thought back to that time he laid his father out when sparring. No matter how pathetic he may have looked, Archie always felt that sense of paternal love from him. You're not going to be able to talk him down, Stanley murmured. Archie shook his head. Stanley, Lower your gun. Tears were welling up in his eyes. Please, lower your gun. Hearing the determination in Archie's voice, Stanley quietly complied. Archie stepped up to Daisuke, getting a firm grip on his father's slender shoulder. Dad, of course I want to help Susan. Then why are you trying to stop me? Dad, do you think this is what she'd want you to do? Daisuke's face fell. Did Susan ask for this, Dad? Did she tell you to take someone else's heart so you could live longer? So she could live longer? Did she, Dad? Suddenly the fight seemed to ebb from Daisuke's body. The stun gun hung limply in his hand. If Susan asked me to go and get someone's heart for her, I wouldn't object. I'd help her, just like she wanted. I wouldn't let you bear these crimes by yourself. If Susan asked you to get someone's heart, I wouldn't let you bear these crimes by yourself. But that's not what this is it? Susan would never ask you to do something like this, would she? But now tears were streaming down Archie's cheeks, except we can't really see them in this picture. He knew that his father thought about Susan more than he thought of anyone else, and so he should know full well that she would never want this. Susan is not like me. She's smart, she's kind, and she'd never be happy about taking someone else's heart. Even if it saved her life, I'm sure she'd never accept that. She wouldn't be able to live with it, knowing that something horrible had happened to someone else for her sake. Isn't that the Susan we know? Daisuke's cheeks were smeared with tears now as well. But then we're not going to be able to help her. The sound of father and son weeping echoed through the workroom. Maybe so, maybe we won't. But that's better than the misery and suffering she'd have to live with. Daisuke slumped to his knees on the floor, collapsing like a crumbling mound of sand. Hitomi, freed from his grip, stood motionless. There were tears in her eyes too. You're such an idiot, Dad. Such a complete, utter idiot. Sobbing, Archie embraced his father. There was a sudden thud from near the door. Everyone turned to look. Maria had crumpled to the floor, and a newcomer had appeared. At some point, Kennard had silently entered the room. Now she cradled Maria in her arms. Standing in the doorway was a man Archie didn't recognize, his face pale. Okay, that's the right time at least. Stay back! Kennard shouted, no, stay back! Kennard shouted at Archie when he tried to approach. It's surprising that they actually put Archie's name in the narration. They normally don't do that. Maybe it was a mistake. And Kennard for that matter. It looked like Maria had fallen unconscious. Archie's heart was racing in his chest. An eerie silence fell over the room. For several seconds no one said a word, their eyes fixed on Maria. Is the incubation period over? It must be close. I forget what it is. Finally, Kennard looked up, her face ashen. It's starting. To be continued as we walk into Archie's scene, which is at the exact same place. Wait, what time is it? 7:40, yeah. Okay. Might be a bit more. But we're also almost up to the time when my internet usually cuts out. Well, I'm glad I found Minorikawa's bad ending quickly because I was a bit very confused at everything going on. After the young man's desperate pleading, the other fellow, apparently his father, finally gave in. He released his hold on Tomi. The tension in the room was replaced by a solemn air of gravitas. Seeing father and son weeping as he spoke made Kano think back to his conversation with Tatano before the stakeout. What was it in people that drove them to do such horrible things? Sometimes it's a desire to save the ones they loved. Even such a heartfelt human emotion could drive someone to wrongdoing. Why? Why did people have to be like that? A sudden thud snapped Kano out of his musings. An instant later, Kanan hurried past him into the workroom. Maria had collapsed on the floor, and now Kanan was beside her. In a panic, Kano rushed into the workroom as well. "Stay back," Kanan shouted to the others. Yep. "Please don't be what they think this is." Had the virus gone symptomatic? 2 hours ago, Stanley had told Kano Maria was infected. He also said the symptoms wouldn't develop for another 4 hours. Okay, so shouldn't they still have another 2 more hours to go? Maria looked like she was dead. Her eyes closed, her body motionless. Hitomi decided to approach despite Kanan's warning. "Wait, Maria!" she cried. "Maria, what's wrong?" Kano held his arms wide to hold her back. Maybe this is why she doesn't have a story, because she's not going to be conscious for the rest of this timeline. "Your sister has been infected with the UA virus." "The UA virus?" Hitomi's face went pale. "Hey," Kano said to Kanan, "should you really be that close?" She's developed symptoms, but Kanan didn't move from Maria's side. She calmly rested her hand on the other girl's forehead. "There's no fever," she said, "and there's no blood coming from her ears, no lymph swelling. I'll be alright, she hasn't gone symptomatic yet." "In that case, why did she collapse?" Hitomi asked. "I'm not sure yet. Whatever the case, if we don't get her to that antiviral, she's done for." "Then we have to get her to the lab right away," Hitomi said. She was trembling with anxiety. No, that's not an option. No, that's not an option. Kano's tone was grave. "You may already be aware. Miss Osawa..." Wait. Oh, yeah. I was thinking, like, why did you say... I was thinking, Miss Osawa's daughter. But without a password, we can't access the antiviral storage. "But when I went there, my father and Mr. Tanaka..." "Mamoru Tanaka is dead. Murdered." "What?" What if he sent her the password in that text message he was sending? "What?" she said at him uncompromisingly. No, that can't be true. He was a member of a crime syndicate. It's possible they killed him in order to silence him. So then, there's no way to save my sister?" There was a hollow look in Hitomi's eyes. "No, I won't accept that. Why? Why can't we help her?" But no one had an answer. Kano gritted his teeth and hung his head. Why did it have to come to this? He had come this far, but there was nothing he could do, and he hated himself for it. "I'll go to the laboratory." It was Kanan. "Electronic lock breaking is my specialty." "Wait!" The young man, Archie, spoke up suddenly. "So you're a martial arts badass, but your specialty is lock breaking?" He looked positively dumbstruck. Kanan ignored him, thinking out loud. Brute force. A cryptanalysis technique that involves test input of all theoretically possible combinations of time or unlimited. This would be the most reliable means of decipherment. If in practice the process takes massive amount of time and computational power, can be defeated by any systems that prohibit access after a limited number of failed input attempts. Rather than trying to decipher the password itself, this method involves analyzing information from a device such as processing time, power consumption, and the electromagnetic locks, using these data to exploit the system. Isolating the run state device is a crucial element of countering side-channel attacks. Shortcut: a cryptanalysis technique method that uses mathematical algorithms to carry out efficient bulk calculations against a block cipher that makes the use of shared keys for encryption and decryption. Even when such calculations are theoretically possible, however, in practice the process requires a large amount of time. The block cipher is seldom at a real risk. Given the situation, I might have to go for side channel. "Side channel?" Stanley asked. "Where's your equipment?" "One of the lab PCs will suffice. I can actually do a special server from the net." "I don't really understand the stuff you talk about," she said. "But I trust you to handle this. I mean, you did risk your life to save Hitomi from that minivan explosion and all." Kanan nodded. "I have to warn you in advance, though. Cryptanalysis can take hours. It's still a year to no results. I can't guarantee I'll be able to get the doors unlocked before Maria develops symptoms." "I understand," Hitomi said. She nodded too. No one present had any objections. All of a sudden, there was a curious sound from somewhere in the room. "What's that?" Ken asked. "What's making that noise?" He looked around the workroom. It's so cold. Wait, that's my computer. Daisuke hurried to his desktop. The bank of monitors which had been displaying surveillance camera footage from around Shibuya had all gone black. "What the hell? What's going on, Dad?" Archie joined his father, staring at the computer screens. It's all gone. The camera footage. It's been deleted. Jessica blinked in disbelief. Now then, it seems our main cast has all been assembled. A man's voice, distorted by a voice modulator, suddenly emerged from the computer speakers. A moment later, the monitors all began to display a view of the inside of the workroom. Dad, what the hell is this? Someone's broken through our firewall. A security system for preventing unauthorized intrusion into his computer network. The term stems from a metaphorical reapplication of the concept of a wall meant to inhibit the spread of fire and other destructive forces. They've hijacked the surveillance camera system. The colour drained from Daisuke's face as he looked at the screens. Where are they filming us from? Kano asked, scanning the inside of the room. He used the images on the monitor to guess where the camera might be located. Over here? The lens of a camera sat atop the computer monitor glimmered like an eye. It was a miniature camera used for web conferencing and the like. Wait. Now that Maria and who told me our birthday, you have probably in some situation, and so I offer a proposal. The laboratory password in exchange for terms blanche. Realizing now that it was Alphard's voice they were hearing, everyone in the room froze. At 7 o'clock, roughly 1 hour from now, I see that the terminal site is waiting at the scramble intersection outside Shibuya Station, just like this morning. Unless, of course, you're feeling particularly confident. You do have Kanan with you. Perhaps you'd like to take a gamble on her lock-breaking skills instead. Kanan clucked her tongue in frustration. Alphard had known exactly what the plan was. They cluck their tongue and stroke their beard and think, what is to be done with this Homer Simpson? Of course, if Kanan isn't able to get the door open in time, what will you do then? Maria is sure to die, yes, but that's not all. If you don't agree to my offer, I have means of creating another Maria, and a third. These infectees will spread the virus through Tokyo. The death toll will likely number in the hundreds of thousands. It's difficult to predict the scope of infection in the event of a bioterrorist attack, employing a highly infectious viral agent in a city with a large and mobile population. In the worst case scenario, some researchers estimate there's as many as several million infected in a matter of days. So do think carefully before you decide. Alphard's voice was chillingly matter-of-fact. I will appear at the rendezvous in person. After all, it wouldn't do for the star of the show to miss the final curtain. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you then. It's clearly Yanagishita. Silence fell. Then the images of the computer monitor returned to normal. The surveillance camera footage came back online as well. Daisuke promptly yanked out his Ethernet cable and slammed his fist on the keyboard. Damn it, there was a hole in the firewall. I have to redo my security from the ground up. Good call, Kanan said calmly. We can't win this if our intel keeps getting leaked. Suddenly pursed his lips in consternation. What do we do, Kano asked him. Do we give him to his demands? I mean, do we really expect he's just going to blithely show up like that? He's practically begging us for us to come and catch him. There should be some deeper plan at work. If it means saving my sister, I'll do it. Hitomi resolute. No, Stanley said. You can't. Good grammar. What? Why not? Because if you do, you'll be killed. What? Hitomi's voice caught it in her throat. With the antivirus still present in your body a week after the fact, you're too much of a liability for Alphard to just let go. He's right. Don't do it, Alphard she exclaimed. Hitomi, you can't go. Even still, I want to do it. Hitomi stared defiantly at Stanley, not definitely. You still want to go, even knowing that you'll be killed? I can't just sit here and hope that Kanan is able to pull this off, she said. I want to do something for my sister. I want to save her. She peered down at Maria, sprawled on the floor. She'd object to me going, I'm sure of that. But I want to do what I can.
to do things my way. My way or the highway. No one tried to contradict her this time. If she's willing to take the risk, then there are things the rest of you can do too. It's Kanan again. Let's hear it, Kanan replied. He squared his shoulders. He was in the same mind as Hitomi. He couldn't just do nothing and leave it all on Kanan. After everything he'd been through, he wanted to stick with his case until the very end. Apprehend Alphard at the rendezvous and demand the password from him. Kanan offered the suggestion if it was a simple task. That lets you get what you want without putting Hitomi in danger. Kanan let a sigh. Hold on, he said. Even if we do arrest him, how are we going to get him to cough up the password? We don't have time to drag him off to an interrogation room. And besides, he doesn't strike me as the sort who can offer confession that easily. There are ways, Kanan said. Once Alphard has made contact with Hitomi, call my cell phone. Hitomi tilted her head. Call you? No, call you. I have plenty of information Alphard might want to bargain for. I can negotiate with him directly. Kanan considered up Kanan's proposal. I see. So we'll try both options. Attempt to hack the password of the lab, and also try negotiating with Alphard. That gives us 2 chances. With that tiny ray of hope, Hitomi's face brightened some. Split into 2 groups, one for the lab and one for Shibuya Station, Kanan said. Let's exchange phone numbers so we can be in touch when the time comes. The group quickly shared contact info as suggested. Alphard has to be someone we've seen before. I just don't know who it could be. Hitomi and Kanan called one another's phones to be sure. Hitomi's cheerful ringtone felt out of place and also somehow soothing. A fragment of normalcy in the midst of crisis. Everything is be alright. Well, guess we're all set then, Hitomi said, looking down at the LCD screen. Her expression turned apologetic. I'm sorry, Kanan, for having to keep putting things on you. Hey, Kanan replied. Don't worry about it. Okay. Now I guess I should call my father. Hitomi called Kenji Osawa on his cell, asking him to let Maria and Kanan into the lab. Kanan leaned in to whisper into Kanan's ear. You sure you're okay with this? With what? I know you're after Alphard. Are you sure you want to go to the lab and not right now? I want to save Maria. That's all. Her tone was curt and mechanical as always, but there was a fierce gleam of determination in her eyes. Maria was clearly someone very special to her. Alright, Kanan replied. Leave Alphard to me. He thumped himself on the chest. He succeeded this time no matter what the odds. Wait, Alpha is A. Alphard is odd. Kanan could scarcely recall the whirlwind of events that had brought him here. Or maybe it's like Lambda Delta's great-grandfather, Lambda Alphard. He'd somehow survived a dozen disasters. Even now, a dear friend was in the hospital at the risk of dying. There were times when he'd been ready to give up, and yet at the end of it all... Ooh! Is it Al-Karawan? Or is it Osawa's wife? Actually, I did think about it being Osawa's wife, but then if it's Osawa's wife, she wouldn't be able to make this call. At least I don't think she could. And yet, at the end of it all, here he was. His opponent was an international terrorist. No matter how you looked at it, that wasn't a matchup for a mere detective. But I'm gonna do it anyway. Rumi, Shizuo, Sasayama, and Detective Tatano. I'm going to take down Alphard and save Maria Osawa's life. Just you watch and see. It could be Rumi, though. Oh, but which waitress? Maybe it's that girl at the eating contest. Or that girl who was being hassled at the very start of the game. Tanaka hadn't given Osawa's wife his password. Osawa's last chance had gone up in smoke. He let out a long shaky breath and shut his eyes tight. Was it true? Was there nothing more he could do? Osawa's cell phone rang. When he saw the name of the incoming call display, he nearly shouted out loud. It was Hitomi. Hitomi, are you alright? Please tell me you're right. Yeah, I'm fine. But Maria's
Maria! Is Maria there with you? Osawa's heart leaped.
Dad, there isn't any time for me to explain everything, so I'll just have to give you the main points. This is so we can save my sister, so just stay calm and listen. Osawa struggled to hold back the 1,000 questions that immediately came boiling into his mind. There's a girl named Kanan who's going to bring Maria to the lab. She's going to try to hack the password in order to get us inside.
Wait, hold on. Just what in the world is going on?
There are a bunch of people here working here to help save Maria. Can you wait for us at the lab, Dad?
I'm not sure that electronic lock is something that's so easy to...
We've got another plan in motion too, and if that goes well, we might be able to learn the password. There was also much to follow, but Osawa realized he'd have to take Hitomi at her word. It was their only hope of saving Maria.
Alright, he said. I'll do as you ask, but you said you're trying to two approaches. You're not going to be in danger, are you?
No, I'll be fine. Don't worry about me.
Okay, very well. I'm heading to the laboratory now.
You can't. You can't go. The moment Osawa hung up and started for the house, Osawa's wife, clung to him from behind. If you use the antiviral now, she said, everything will go public.
There's no way we can keep the virus or the antiviral under wraps at this point. That's why the game is called 428. That's the password.
Osawa tried to pull free, but his wife, Osawa's wife, was stronger than he expected. Besides, if Maria infects other people, the world is going to find out in a matter of hours.
No, we can just quarantine her. If it's handled correctly, we'll still be able to retain secrecy.
Osawa's wife's voice was cold as ice. Do you even have any idea what you're saying right now?
I do. I know how it sounds, but this is the only thing I could...
His voice trailed off. He could feel the force of her trembling where she held him. Have I really put you into that much of a corner? Osawa slipped from Osawa's wife's arms and prostrated himself on the ground in front of her. Thank Egg.
I'm sorry. I'm truly, truly sorry.
Oh, stop this. Get up. If you're really sorry, then don't go to that lab. But Osawa remained silent, his forehead pressed to the dirt. If you use that antiviral without corporate approval, your time with Akoshi is finished.
That doesn't matter to me anymore.
How can you say that? Virology is the only thing you've ever cared about. Shit. Are they as cold as Ice 9 though? I began pummeling his back.
Maybe virology is all that I care about. I don't know the first thing about anything else. I never wanted to know, never even thought to find out, never bothered to learn what you or my children might think. I'm a failure, as a father and as a husband.
How dare you say that only after it's come to this? Osawa's wife, struck him again harder than before.
You're right, he gasped out the word as wind blows. Maybe this has been a long time coming, but it's not too late. I can still start over.
Start over? She paused in disbelief. You already turned down that American job. If you use that antiviral now, there won't be any starting over. You'll lose everything.
Will I lose you too?
After you've gone and thrown everything else away, like this? How could I possibly stay with you? Osawa's wife was sobbing softly now. Osawa wondered what her tears were for, but there was one thing he did know. She was right. They couldn't be together anymore. Is there going to be another bombshell? I'm curious. He got to his feet and headed back into the house, leaving Osawa's wife behind. Just one moment. Okay, so he started talking to her at 50 past. Alphard was talking at 50 past. Thus, they can't be the same person. QED. He hurried through the back entrance and went into the garage. Climbed into his car, fastened his seatbelt and took a deep breath. The image of a younger Maria arose in the back of his mind.
There she was at the park, getting drenched by the rain, holding back her tears as she waited for her father.
Wait for me, Maria. This time, I'm gonna come for you.
Osawa's wife was wrong. Going to the lab wouldn't mean losing everything. He'd let too many important things slip through his fingers. Now it was time to take them back.
Osawa pulled his car onto the street and sped towards the laboratory. As if to signal that the long day was drawing to a close, the dazzling sun sank between the buildings in the distance. It's nearly 6 p.m. Ooh! I didn't expect that, actually. I am looking away. Things happening on the screen and I don't look at. I don't wanna be spoiled. Ooh, it's 2 hours. Oh, did you not know what QED is? I'm kind of surprised, actually. But then again, I could never tell you what it stands for. Can't look at Archie's time chart. I wonder. That's odd. Oh, we can't even select him, actually. Interesting. It's funny, like, Minoru Koa just has no agency in this plot, but he's one of the 3 people who still have something going on. Yeah, QED is basically something you put at the end of a mathematical proof. It means something along the lines of, as, I can't, sorry, it's like, it's something you say when you've proven what you set out to prove. Yeah. Alright, I'm curious what this 2-hour block is going to be like. But with 3 people, maybe it'll be just as long as normal. And it feels like it'll be the end of Minoru Kawa's story because I don't know what he's doing. But that's something to find out on the next stream, which I might do it. No, I don't know if I'll do it tomorrow. Probably I've got a bit too much stuff going on at the moment. Or I definitely won't do it on Thursday. I might do it on Friday. So yeah, maybe Wednesday, maybe Friday. We'll find out. Because I'm keen to get smash through this game. Just like I smashed through 24 hours or so of Higurashi in 3 days. Yeah. So yeah, if you're here live or you're watching the VOD, thank you for coming along. Hope you have a good day, night, evening, afternoon, etc., etc., whatever time zone it is. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.